Hey, and welcome back. Look, I need to get right into this video because I need to share this information so that we can correct an issue. Yes, this is an issue that has been going on for a very long time concerning black race and mixed blacks. You know what I'm saying?
Right there, he fucked up. And basically, this is a short clip. It's like 5.5 minutes. He kind of invalidates everything he says thus far and going into this whole finishing his clip. He first started out by saying black race versus mixed blacks. And that's what I'm telling you. They in their back pocket, they always got that one drop rule in their back pocket. That crusty barbecue stained black card. They're always going to whip out of their pocket to throw it in your face. That's all they got is membership access. If you want access to the tribe, that's all they got. They have nothing else to offer you. They're not going to support your business. They're not going to cash app you, right? They're not going to promote you in any corporation. They have nothing to offer you. It's membership access. And they're going to weaponize the one drop rule to get their agenda across. That's why he says black race versus mixed blacks. But the whole premise of his video is mixed race versus being black. Why do you call them mixed race black? See, that's why he fucked up from the beginning. And I saw this. I was like, oh, this is too easy to debunk. This guy completely fucked up and showed his hand. Still trying to one drop us, even when he wants to make the delineation and say that we're different. He's still going to pull that one drop rule bullshit and say you're a mixed race black. See, they look at you as you are their property. They look at you as you are a subgroup where they can decide your identity. They can comment and critique you. But they basically kind of fucked up and didn't realize, well, we got microphones out here. I mean, an internet connection. You can talk your shit and get your little buttercup pumpkin bisexual blacks to do your little dirty work. It's not good enough. There's not enough of them. They didn't realize that there's going to be more of us, the heterosexual straight mulatto men, coming into the fold, speaking our voice. Only the beginning right now. You're only witnessing the beginning. They thought they can just speak for us and we're going to sit there and, oh, you're right. No, you're not right. You're wrong, boy. And we're going to tell you why you're wrong right now live.
Concerning black race and mixed blacks.
Black race and mixed blacks. Complete oxymoron. Doesn't make any sense. Any logical person, when I first saw this, I was like, this is ridiculous. You just invalidated all of your arguments. You're one-dropping mulattoes or multiracial people, whatever, etc. You just said black race versus mixed blacks. You're calling mixed people blacks. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? If they got a black mama and a black daddy, but they're if they got one black mama and their daddy is white, or their daddy is black and their mama's white, they're not the same as you people. That's my job here, to provide clarification and clarity to the numbskulls out here. This guy here, he wants to still hoodwink you and trick you. And that's why he's going to say this whole mixed race blacks. We're not a part of your group. And you just laid it out there. You said that. And during his whole spew, he's going to say that we're not the same as him. I've already acknowledged that. I've been knew this way before little Coonrick Lemoist and the rest of the Fruit Loops over there in the pro-whack conscious FBA Kendrick crowd. I've been saying this from at least few years publicly saying this. Nothing new to me. But he's still trying to pull you guys in and call you a mixed race black. You guys see that? He just wants you to be sub. He wants you to be underneath him, a subgroup where he can make the decisions. Who's going to let a fucking savage, a former slave, make decisions over them? Who is? None of the respectable mulatto men over what I'm doing over here. They're not going to allow that. Maybe the pussy ass, weak ass, biracial baby mamas who got dumped by a black dude. Now they're single mamas. Now they're lesbian or gay. They're feminist. Maybe they will allow this and play around with this. But the people with integrity and dignity and who they are, they will not allow this. So you're going to need a masculine voice to provide clarity for this. Let's continue on.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, first of all, just because you have some black in you doesn't make you black. You get what I'm
Just because you have some black in you, it doesn't make you black. But he called us mixed race blacks. Like the gentleman here, El Mulaton, is saying quote unquote mixed black is like saying dry water. Yeah, precisely. They're very confused people. They still push the one drop rule. They just don't want you to have all the shine. They see Steph Curry in the NBA finals. They see Drake dominating the charts. That's what it is. Because they will always weaponize the one drop rule to try to pull in the women so they can bastardize them and conquer the females, right? Their preference. So they're always going to have some wiggle room to claim the females as black, whether they're Afro-Latina, they're Blasian or Mulatta, whatever. But his real problem is the men. He sees the mulatto men, the biracial men, and a lot of times that we have black fathers and we're just fucking them up. We're kicking their ass. We're punking them out here, spitting in their face, talking shit, fucking punking them. But they're upset about that. They can't change. Like, and that's the thing, that they don't want us to represent them, right? But they want our counterparts, the mulatto females, to represent the females in their group. That's where they're losing badly because they can't stick to the script. They're always flipping and changing based on how they feel, their little emotions. It's not scientific with them. There's no rationale. Because they'll try to pick Tyla and say Tyla, the South African, is black, right? Because they look at her, she's got a nice tight body, she can dance, she can sing, very talented. They look at her, they want to claim her. They want to claim Mariah Carey. Remember Dr. Umar said he had a poster of Mariah Carey on the wall, and she looks white as fuck. So they're gonna claim all of them, all the females, the dark-skinned Bantu male. They're gonna claim the females, right? But when they see a Steph Curry, they see a Drake, right, or a guy like me, whatever. I'm nobody special. You take your pick, any other dude. Like, then they have an issue with that. Then they got to gatekeep pro-whackness, right?
I'm saying? It does not make you black. If you got a white mom or a black dad or whatever, that does not make you black. That makes you mixed. You get what I'm saying? People are still living by this old racist mentality back in the slave days. And what would happen was,
it wasn't even back in the slave days, because back in the slave days, they understood that you're a mulatto. I read to you guys on my other channel the entire book, Frederick Douglass's narratives of a slave, right? I read you the whole audiobook. It's on my channel. And even in one of the chapters, I can't recall which chapter it was, but the lady, the overseers or the slave owner, partner female, called Frederick Douglass a mulatto devil or something like that. Even back then, they understood a distinction between a dark-skinned Bantu like him. Okay. It's funny because you got light skins crawling their ass over here trying to say that, oh, he's light skinned. I don't care. You're not mulatto. Call yourself whatever the fuck you people want to call yourself. You're not mulatto. Okay. Other people will coddle your feelings and be nice. I'll be the mean guy. Okay. Because they're trying to like basically change the definition every 2 seconds of like what a quote unquote light skin is. They're calling the blackest people on the fucking planet light skin nowadays. And like nobody calls it out. I got to be the bad guy to call it out, to quote unquote gatekeep. I'm not against any of you people, whatever your ethnic extraction, whatever t-shirt you got, whatever color t-shirt you got going on. I don't care. I am specifically speaking about those who have mulatto heritage, European African, a white parent, black parent, or two mulatto parents, I'm speaking on behalf of them, giving them a voice. And if you people, you interlopers and saboteurs have an issue with that, that's on you, man. That's on you. Go cry to your white massa about that. We're not even concerned with you.
If you messed around with somebody black and you were not black, you were considered spoiled. You were spoiled. You had some black in you, so therefore they called you black because you've been infiltrated.
And I wanted to mention that, like, say, back in the slavery days, they understood the distinction mulatto and black. It wasn't until around the 1920s and really get into 1930s, the Great Depression, Dust Bowl era, is when they started to lay out that distinction, or to destroy that distinction, rather, and try to weaponize the one drop rule and force mulattoes into blackness. That's really what happened. The slavery days prior, it was always distinction, mulatto and black. You had Creole communities, you had mulatto communities in the Carolinas, in Louisiana, where the Creoles were, that's their territory. You also had mulatto communities, Mulatto Bend, in Baton Rouge area in the Louisiana. So you've had Creole mulatto communities in the southern part of the United States prior, and in that time period. This guy's talking about, in slavery days, you had a distinction there between different groups. They knew who the dark-skinned Bantu was, the black was, and who the mulatto was, and the Creole was. They knew. So don't let these revisionist historians, this guy here, try to trick you and fool you, acting like it was only back then in the slavery days. No, they eliminated the mulatto designation in the 1930 census. It was a concerted effort with the top intelligentsia within the society to neutralize mulattoes. And here we are today, still talking our shit. They're not going to stop us. I'm current situation I'm going through. I'm a fighter. I'm still fighting. So this idea, they call IRL, in real life. I just say basically online, offline. When I click the end live stream and I turn the computer off and all this shit, it's still the same battle out here with the people I run into face to face. Out, it's still the same thing. It's still mulatto every day. Okay. So yeah, everything I'm talking right now, this is in real life. This is real life, baby. Okay. I know a lot of the pussies and all this stuff, they're hiding behind Avatar and all this. They're not really all up in this like that. But the real ones, they're going to be promoted, sponsored, endorsed, and put at the forefront. The people who are actually verified mulattoes, who have their face on this, yeah, they're the ones who we're going to basically push to the forefront and say, hey, you represent us. You're a representation of us. So if you're hiding behind an avatar, you're always going to be that person hiding behind an avatar. And that's great. You're a social media personality. That's perfectly fine. But letting you know, the contingent is not going to take you seriously hiding behind that little avatar. It's just the way it is. That's how the chips are laid out. Let's continue on.
Your DNA, your genes, everything has been infiltrated. That was that old slave mentality stuff that was going on back then. That was to keep a pure white race. And there's nothing wrong with a pure white race, just like there's a pure black race. But here's the thing. If you're mixed with anything, you're mixed. It doesn't have to be that your mom.
Well, I get that. If you're mixed, you're mixed. I get that. Like, you don't have to tell me. He's probably telling the stupid people who are pro wax or they're biracial baby mamas. They're still trying to hold on to this kind of, Blackistan acceptance stuff. But he kind of effed up in the beginning because, like I said, he said black race versus mixed race blacks. I was like, what the hell, bro? There's no such thing as mixed race black, and even you're contradicting your own words. You literally said if you're mixed, you're just mixed. That's it. Well, why do you throw that black shit on there? Because he still wants to have ownership. He doesn't want to relinquish his ownership. That's what it is. And I'm trying to tell mulattoes, you got to question that shit. They think they can talk to you any way they want. They think they can talk to you as if they basically have ownership over you and your identity, right? And I feel sorry for a lot of the light-skinned African Americans because like this is all they know. This is their people. This is their dark-skinned brothers and sisters. I feel sorry for them, but we're not the same. A mulatto is not the same as a light-skinned African American. I have to repeat that every stream until people finally figure it out and stop coming over here to my channel with this stupid BS. I'm tired of it. Trying to force yourself into our conversation because these are not our people. In the Owl show, I see him in the chat. I uploaded the panel we had. We basically were talking about all this stuff. Like, look, the differences between us who are mulatto or biracial versus a light-skinned African American. The mulatto biracials, we could just step away from these people. The African Americans, we're like, look, we don't have, if they don't like us, they don't trust us, we're not like them, we just get the hell away from them. Our hands are clean, we're good, we'll just build a community, go do something else. The same thing cannot be said with the light-skinned African American. They still consider these people their brothers and sisters. They will legitimately, you listen to their commentary, they will call them their dark-skinned brothers and sisters. And I'm sitting there like, well, you're not the same as us mulattoes, homie. If this is your dark-skinned brother and sister, and he's sitting there telling you that mulattoes are not like them and stuff, like there's a conflict of interest here. And so like, shout out to the Owl show, and like like we were talking about before, we'll continue to talk about, where it's like that's the major difference there. With us, if you're biracial mulatto, you just get the hell away. You realize, you see the hostility, right? Just get the hell away from them. They don't like us. They don't claim us as being part of their group. Okay, they want to weaponize the one drop rule to benefit them, but we're stopping all that shit. That's on us to stop it. But that's the difference between, you say, like the light-skinned African American, who is like, they can't do that. They can't get away from these people. This is their quote unquote dark-skinned brother and sister, in their words. That's what they say. And I listen to their videos, I watch them. I don't comment on it much. Like it's not my lane. I'm a mulatto channel. I know you people, you want to mix in and try to claim you're part of us and all this stuff. I do mulatto content over here. Okay, if you belong to that group, you got to work it out with them, bro. Like I can't help you. These are not my people. This guy you see on the screen, this is not my brother, homie. But there's a lot of these people who this is their people, and they want to come over here to the mulattoes and try to convince us that, work a deal out with him. What do you get out of it, though? I try to tell mulattoes, what do you get out of it? We get it. The biracial baby mama, okay, she's already been bastardized. She's lowered her value. Okay, she's a baby mama, single mom. We get it. She just wants to fit in somewhere. Because the whites, the Hispanics, the Asians, even the biracials, none of them even regard her as being worthy. They don't even care about her. They're not interested in her. But it's only the dusty, crusty black males who would kind of give her a position at the table. So they're going to fight for dear life to appease Blackistan, to find a seat at the table so they can have some type of community they can belong to, right? We get it. That's the situation. But that doesn't work out for everybody, especially the people with dignity and pride and honor and integrity. They're not going to accept that arrangement, right?
Mom was black and your dad was Hispanic. That still doesn't make you black. People have this thing where they think because it's a black male dominant gene in there, that makes them black. No, they are mixed race kids. You're mixed.
And he calls us mixed race. I get it. Yeah, I respect that. But earlier when you started out, you said black and then you said mixed race black. What's all that about? Because they always want to have a trick bag in their back pocket. They always want to have that wild card they can pull out, which is that one drop rule. To weaponize, they weaponize the one drop rule more than their Anglo masses. That's the key thing here. I'm trying to point out to people. They always got that one drop rule. That's that wild card they want to throw at you. Try to pull you back in to deal with them. And my whole thing is, what the hell do you get out of doing? Like, he's not giving you no money. He owes you money. He's not giving you nothing. Why would you deal with him? If he needs to dance or sing for me, he needs to entertain me. He's not giving you none of that. No money, no jobs, no entertainment. Why are you even entertaining them? Now, I'm going over this. I'm covering this video right now because they're talking about us, mulattoes. And they're very cocky and comfortable. They think they can just talk about us. We're not going to watch and listen. Oh, no, baby. You got the Mulatto Vanguard Media Network in full-fledged right now. We're all watching you. We're all collecting notes, collecting receipts. We're watching you. The days of them just speaking for us, against us, and we're just supposed to sit here like some idiot, buffoon, like Flower Tower is irrelevant. I first heard about her 3 years ago. And you look at her, and she's gay. She's a dark-skinned black female. She's lesbian. She's pro-black. It's like, to me, that it's just irrelevant. I first heard about her 3 years ago when I first, like, people were talking about this stuff on YouTube 3 years ago, and they kept bringing up Flower Tower, and she talks about biracials, and she doesn't. That's her whole content, is talking shit about biracials. I think it's a good thing what she's doing. You want to know why? Because it's going to wake up these pussy ass fucking mulattoes who still want to suck off Bantus, who still think they're a part of their group. I love the fact that you have black people who talk shit about mulattoes, because a lot of these pussy mulattoes, they come over here to me, to my channel, and they hate what I have to say. You're an extremist. You're an anti-black. You sound like a white supremacist. And it's a pussy mulatto bitch. And I'm like, do you know what these blacks are saying about you? Like, so I see these content creators like a Flower Tower or something. I'm like, it's good. They're doing a good thing. Because if they're not going to listen to me, these mulattoes who are weak, they're not gonna listen to me. They're gonna listen to this one of these racist blacks. It's like they're eventually gonna wake up and smell the coffee, and then they're gonna turn around and they're gonna try to, like, you know, smitten their way over here, like, oh, Mulatto Vanguard, you're right. They're not gonna admit it publicly, of course not, but they're still tuning in. They're still listening. I got all these hate watchers. Hopefully, not that many. And I block people. I love to block, so I'll block your bitch ass. You get out of line, but it's I got a few haters. I pride myself in that. I think I'm pretty diplomatic and reasonable, but there's a few people who get out of line. Like I said, especially if you're mulatto and you get out of line with me, you really fucked up. I don't know what you're thinking, homie. You're really fucked up if you get out of line with me. And I've been the most staunch pro mulatto advocate on this motherfucking platform, even if it's Facebook, regardless, advocating for a voice for mulattoes, mulatto plight. And I see some of these pussy ass mulattoes who, like, want to cry about me being anti-black. But yeah, these same people, they never question these racist blacks like a Flower Tower talking shit on mulattoes. I get a kick out of it. I get a kick out of it. They always end up turning around, trying to spin the narrative, whatever. But no, I think it's a good thing, because they're letting you people know you're not the same as them. So now what? You've tried to identify with them. You think you're going to throw me under the bus, another mulatto or biracial cat. You're going to throw me under the bus to appease them. But once, black supremacists, once they're done with their tools, they break them. So once they throw your dumbass under the bus, then what? Where are you going to go? I see these mulatto, these biracial content creators, male and female. I'm not going to name names because I can clown them. I've already had videos clowning their ass. It's too easy. But it's like, where do they go after that? They threw me under the bus, the Mulatto Vanguard. I'm such a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. They threw me under the bus trying to paint me as anti-black, but the blacks don't even claim their weak ass. It's like, where are they going to go? They got to go to some old ass Latino guy. They got to run over there to some old ass fucking Latino guy. Nobody else gives a shit about him, It's pretty pathetic. It's pretty sad and pathetic, but this is the situation they put themselves in. So they can't blame me. I'm just here doing what I've been doing since day one. There's been no change-a-roo or switch up. There's been no switch up, bro. This is the same shit. What I'm talking now, everything I'm saying now, it's the same from 3 years ago. There's no rebranding, no switch up. This is literally the same. I might throw in a couple more F bombs or B words or something like that, but that's literally it. It's the same exact operation. Let's continue on.
Race people. If you're you don't hear that crap when you hear if the dad is Japanese and the mom is Brazilian, what that make them? Does that make them Japanese because the dominant gene from the male? Does that make them a Japanese? No, it makes them mixed. It's this. Why does this only apply?
I'm not sure who this guy's crying to. He has to cry to his own people. This guy here, because it's your own race that's pushing a one drop rule. Even his weird flunky rear end, when he started this out, he said, "You're pure black versus mixed race black." Like it's them that push it. They hate themselves, so they push the idea that the black blood makes you tainted. It's them who pushes the one drop rule, but they always project it on someone else. I'm listening to this guy. Like, who is he talking to? That's pushing this whole like one drop rule stuff. It's you people. He's talking to his own blacks that are pushing this shit. No one else. Yeah, if you see someone who's white and Japanese, they're Hapa, they're Wasian, they're Eurasian. Yeah, and they acknowledge that they have organizations that stand up and stick up for them to a degree. That's a whole nother separate issue. I think the Hapa Issues Forum has been dismantled, but that's a whole separate issue. But they have advocacy forums and social media pages, etc., that deal with them in their specific mixed race configuration. For me, I'm just a think tank mulatto network here speaking on behalf of mulattoes, giving us a voice, our perspective. And when I see people like you try to talk about us, it's like, oh, this is easy work. This is easy work. You people, like, you got to check your own people, homie. That's why I don't know who the hell he's talking about. That one drop rule shit, it's you people who push that more than anything. And he did it from the beginning, from the get-go. It's almost like it's instinctive with them. Talking about a black versus a mixed black. What the hell is a mixed black? You're either black or you're not. Well, see, but they still weaponize their own blood. And they look at it as being tainted. And when they see you, they hate the fact they see black in you because they hate themselves, right? And I'm saying for him, I already understand this boy. It's going to be from the male perspective. He'll like the females if he can bastardize them and use them, right? All these mixed celebrities, Zendaya, Doja Cat, Zoe Kravitz, you name it. Cassie, the rapper that's like on trial, whatever. Right? She's a rapper, she's an entertainer on trial. Like they're cool with them. The females, it's the males they don't like. They see a Drake, they see a Steph Curry, they see us winning out here, Patrick Mahomes. That gets underneath this boy's skin. That's what it is. They're upset with the males, but they will weaponize the one drop rule to keep the women in their influence, in their circles.
Apply to the black race. So when people all of a sudden hear, "Oh, I'm mixed," they think, "Oh, they're mixed. They're black and white. That means mixed." I would say kind of like a Holly Berry kind of thing. No, she's not black. She's mixed race. So people stop using that term. Like I said, it's some old crap from back in the day.
It's not old crap back in the day because your rear end just used it right now. You said mixed race black. That's why it's like, who is he talking to? He's talking about his own damn people. And he references Halle Berry. Yeah, she's mulatto genetically, but as far as her identity, she identifies as a black female. Maybe it's advantageous for her in Hollywood, just like Zendaya, just like Paula Patton. You have a lot of these people. But like I said, starting out in the stream, his thumbnail, he used Amber Rose in a thumbnail. I defend Amber Rose, not only because she defends Drake, a biracial man, so she has my respect there, but also she self-identifies as biracial, and that's precisely why she defends Drake. Because if she's a biracial baby mama and she identifies as black, you know, she's more than likely going to throw the biracial men under the fucking bus. So because you have a mulatto woman who identifies as mulatto, more than likely she's going to defend the mulatto man. It's these mulattoes who want to act like they're a black and they're baby mamas by black guys. They're going to be the ones most susceptible to throwing mulatto men on the bus to appease black people. Then you run into a guy like him. What are you going to tell him? What are you going to tell him? And if you're a female, and see, they know that instinctively. Yeah, he'll make wiggle room for you. Well, if you identify with us and you're going to fight our battles for us against white supremacy, yeah, see, they already have this agreement. This is like unwritten. They're not going to publicly tell everybody because the game is going to be given. They're going to tell you the game. It's instinctively known. They'll have their back end deals with the guys like this. He'll be like, okay, yeah, you're a female. Okay, yeah, you can be black. We're just wanting this special rules for the males. Yeah, see, I already know this boy's issue. He doesn't like Drake. He doesn't like Steph Curry. He doesn't like Patrick Mahomes, or doesn't like a guy. For sure, it's not going to like a guy like me. For sure. Because I'll laugh at your ass. So it's the males he doesn't like, but he'll have some wiggle room and special criteria for the females to bypass. We already know their game. The whole gender war, this is all them. There's no greater gender war than that in Blackistan. We know we got guys who are biracial grifters who are making females and males, let's be clear, who their whole YouTube content is grifting off of black people's gender war. I don't need to name names. I could easily digitally murk these fools in an instant. But I want to watch some of these other mulatto guys grow their channels. The whole thing, I want to watch some of these other mulatto guys get their channels popping, get their numbers going, murking some of these fools digitally. You know, we already know, like, we see these biracial rejects, male and female. Don't need to go into names. They've been rejected from mulatto spaces where it's like they're stuck with like the radical black feminist gender war shit where all they got to do is they got to do celebrity content or they got to talk crap about this gender and that gender, and they're stuck in that web, that cycle. That's the content they have to do to appease their audience. For me, I don't give a shit. My audience is mulatto. If you're over here, you rock with me, you rock with me. If you don't, bye. Don't give a shit. I speak for mulattoes to give mulattoes a voice, period. The real ones and people, they've been here from day one. There's nothing 3 years into this, almost 3 years deep. In a couple months would be 3 years. Like, this is it. New people find me and people go, they leave. They don't resonate with the content. That's fine. That's normal. I'm the same way. There's channels I've been subscribed to and I just lost interest in over time. I moved on. I evolved. So I get it, guys. My whole goal here for sure is to evolve, be more professional and polished in my delivery. But at the same time, I still like the fact that I can hop up on here, talk to you guys live, impromptu, no script, just from the heart. And people still resonate with the message. And I think that's important. That just speaks to kind of the authenticity of the branding and what I'm doing here. So let's continue on. Let me finish this off.
To separate you because, like I said, you were considered spoiled. Your DNA, everything about you was spoiled because some black got in you.
Spoiled to who? He's talking about to the whites? This guy's projection, but what, not to the blacks though, because blacks like him, they'll claim you if you're a female because that's their preference, right? They want the light skin, the mixed, right? They want to bastardize you. He's talking about spoiled, what, to the whites? But these people, they always cry colorism. Why do they cry colorism if our genes are spoiled to the quote unquote whites? But they cry because Zendaya gets jobs. They cry because Halle Berry gets jobs. They cry about the European standard of beauty. Why do they cry colorism? Why do they always cry colorism and featureism and texturism? Isn't that what they always cry? Featureism, colorism, texturism. They always cry about that. But I thought they said, well, to them whites, you're tainted. You got some black in you. See, they're not telling the full side of the story. It's because they want to weaponize the one drop rule. Their greatest benefit with their arrangement with their white massa is that one drop rule. That's their wild card. They're always going to try to weaponize that to keep you mulattoes under their influence.
You know, you weren't a part of the white race because why? You had some black in you. And
Yeah, we got some black in us, we got some white in us. We're not a part of the black race. We're not a part of the white race. We are members of the mulatto race, a growing race that you blacks, and you whites listening, you can't stop this. And this is something they are going to have to deal with because we're already here, we're growing, we're not going anywhere. And that's my job here precisely. I am a voice. One voice. My goal is to have more voices.
that's why they would say, no, you black. You black. So even when they see little light-skinned kids and whatever kids that dealt with a black man, then all of a sudden, oh no, they're black. No, they are not. They are mixed race. You are.
The thing is, yeah, I already know this boy when I'm listening to him. Like, see, he wants to gatekeep this black shit and all this, but we already know his game. He's only pushing his shit for the males. Like I already said, for Steph Curry, for Drake, for Patrick Mahomes, because he's jealous because they're all outperforming you. They're laughing at your ass. In everything that is quote unquote a black art or a dominated black field, the mulattoes are already whooping your dark skinned butt. Drake, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, like they're already whooping your ass and everything. And in Hollywood, in they're whooping your ass in all the representation. So that's his issue, is he doesn't like to see these biracial, these mulatto men being the representation of black manhood, black masculinity. But has no issue with the women. Now he'll throw Halle Berry under the bus. You guys want to know why? Because Halle Berry didn't marry a black dude. Because Halle Berry's got kids with a white man. That's why these black guys don't like her. They always want to throw her under the bus. Call her a tragic mulatto. Because that's the unwritten rules they have in Blackistan. Is that they will let you represent them if you're a biracial baby mama, one of these fucktards who don't like me, right? Because I clown their weak ass. But see, with the Halle Berry, who's not a biracial baby mama, okay, she's a rich multimillionaire, accomplished female. She's a single mom. She can take care of her family. She went through a divorce and etc. But because her partner is white and not black, that's why they don't like Halle Berry. This is it. This is why he used her as an example. I know these boys. I've studied them, right? So this is why they don't like her. They throw her under the bus and try to say, well, she's not black. Yeah, they're not going to call her black because the guy she likes, I think she's with the mixed guy right now, Halle Berry, but her prior husband and father to her children is a white guy. So they're not going to give that little quote unquote prestigious. There's nothing prestigious about it, but that's how they think. They got to gas themselves up. That black title, they're not going to give it to her. They're not going to grant her with the black title, right? They'll grant it to Mariah Carey, okay, who's whiter as hell, they'll give it to her because who's her baby daddy? Nick Cannon. You see how these boys play? You see how it is with them? Right? Right? That's the number one thing. I'm here to provide clarity for you guys so you guys understand exactly what's going on in the psyche of the Bantu. Okay. Because they want to talk about mulattoes and biracials, but now the mulattoes and biracials are talking about their black rear end. Okay.
Mixed, and they should have that. When you check out a job or whatever, and it goes down all these races, and it's a check other, because they really need to put mix there, and then you can.
They do have mix there, and that's what I check. I check multiracial. There's been a couple times where they said you got to check one. I look at the white person. I check white. Fuck you. What are you going to say? They can't tell you shit. They can't tell you have to check black. No one's forcing that black label on anybody. It's 2025. You look at a guy like me, you see me. No one's telling I check what I want. If they got an other category or write in, I check, okay, mulatto. They're multiracial, I check multiracial. Two or more races, I'll check white or black. But I prefer if they have that other box, I'll check other and then write in what you specify mulatto, right? So that's what I do. But yeah, if they try to force you, there's been one incident recently, a couple years ago. They told me you have to check one. I check white. I looked at the white in the eye, like, fuck you. I check white. This is it. You people who are behind this, you're going to change this. If you're not going to change it now, we're going to get you people to change this eventually. You're going to change this. We're growing. We're not going anywhere. They want to play this archaic game and they want to use these Bantus as proxies to attack us and humble us because that's what it is. They use these Bantus to try to humble mulattoes. Okay, and I'm over here, we're not playing all that. We see the strategy of you people. Let's continue on.
Explain what your mix is. But they only used this crap when it came to black people. Drake, you're not black. Amber Rose, you're not black.
And he's talking about Amber Rose. I wonder why, because see the image here, maybe because she's like Republican. Drake, he's saying Drake's not black. Why? Because he punked that little short, dark-skinned Bantu, Kenny, little Kendrick Lamar. You're upset about him because he punked that fool. And then with Amber Rose, what's up with her? Her baby daddy's black, but see, he's mad about her because she defends Drake, the biracial man. That's what they really hate. And you guys wonder why you have a lot of biracial women out here. I'm not saying all, I'm not saying majority. I'm saying you have a lot of biracial women who don't like biracial men because they know if they want acceptance from the dark skinned Bantu, they have to throw us under the bus. That is their meal ticket. That is their membership access into the dark skinned black community, is to throw the biracial men under the bus. Again, I'm not saying all, I'm not saying most. I'm saying that is very common. That's what we see out here, especially on YouTube land. In other spaces, it might be different, but Amber Rose is not that type of biracial female. You can say what you want about her. She got a tattoo on her forehead, kind of the conservative grifter shit, which I'm not a fan of. Same thing with Sage Steele. Not a fan of the conservative grift. But Amber Rose defends Drake because Drake is biracial. She publicly says this. And that's why I know this boy right here, he doesn't like her. He doesn't like the fact he sees a biracial female, or she identifies biracial. I think she's more so kind of quadroon, whatever. She's mixed race. But because she defends the biracial man Drake, they don't like that. The dark skinned Bantu doesn't like that. Okay, this is why he's trying to throw her under the bus. I already know what's up.
Y'all need to cut this crap out. You only want to be black when you need it, when you want to gain, something out of that black community.
Now I definitely want. This is like the kind of the main point I wanted to hit here. You guys hear what he just said? I'm gonna rewind it. He said, "Oh, well, you guys only want to claim black when you need it to benefit from the black community. We could benefit from something." See, it's all projection when you're dealing with these Bantus. They only want to claim mulattoes as black when they can benefit from us, when they can claim our wins, when they can get more numbers politically, when they can claim one of these politicians to say, well, he's black, but right. They only want to claim mulattoes as being black when they can politically benefit from us, socially benefit from us, culturally benefit from us, right? It's always projection when you deal with the Bantu. You see what he says that? Like, oh, you only want to claim black when you get benefits, but you Bantus only want to claim mulattoes as being black and a part of your group when you can benefit from us, when you want to claim our wins. It's always projection when you deal with this Bantu as far as these mulatto conversations are going. Let's rewind that.
This crap out. You only want to be black when you need it.
He says you only want to be black when you need it. But that's how these people operate, this Bantu. He only wants to claim the mixed person as black when he can benefit from us. Like he'll claim a Frederick Douglass. He'll claim a Barack Obama. He'll claim a Charles Drew. He'll claim a Thurgood Marshall. He'll claim everybody that's associated with quote unquote black history, all these mulattoes. He'll claim them as being black when he can benefit from it from his ego. It's always projection when you deal with these Bantus. You see, they don't like the fact that you can pick and choose and you can claim blackness when it benefits you, but they think they have free reign to just claim mulattoes as black when it benefits them. But we're here to hold them accountable and to check their black ass. They don't want it to be both ways. They want it one-sided. They want to benefit from this relationship where they can claim all of our wins, all of our victories. Anything a mulatto does historically, they want to claim it as a black win. But then his rear end is going to turn around. He's going to sit here and say, well, you only want to claim black when it benefits you. Man, you people shut the fuck up. This is old talk, man. You people have been saying this shit for years now. I've been doing this for 3 years. This video he published was 10 months ago. So let's say a year ago. This is old talk. These people still try this shit. No, you only claim mulattoes when you can benefit from us. Okay, and you're mad that we claim your black ass when we benefit. That's called life, boy. Deal with it. Stop claiming us. Stop claiming our wins. Okay, we're going to take our history back from you. You want to claim all of our history, all of our wins. You want to turn around and whine and cry about it. You claim all of us when it benefits you. But when we do it to your rear end, you have an issue. Fuck out of here. That's not how it works out here, boy. That's not how it works.
When you want to gain, something out of that black community, now all of a sudden you're black, and then you turn around now, you want to play the white. Come on, you're mixed. You're mixed. Black gene doesn't make you black if you have another race mixed.
Yeah, I know that. You're preaching to the choir. Trust me, I know that. Right? And they say you're white identified. You're anti-black. Okay, that's fine. That's cute, whatever, but the genetics, the biology is still the same. Okay? If your black is not dominant, you got a white mama, okay? Your ass ain't black. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. You can go cry somewhere else, but we're going to here to provide clarity for you.
So let's together fix that, please. Run around here talking about, oh, just because you see somebody with some dark skin, they're black. No, they're mixed. Keep using their mixed race. They are mixed. Once again, they are a mixed race. It's not black. It's whatever they are. It's Korean and Hispanic. It's Japanese and German. It's whatever. They're mixed.
He's talking about Korean, Japanese, German, but we already know he's talking about the black shit, right? And he has the two kanji symbols. You look in the back, his backdrop here, he has kanji symbols in his back. But we already know his whole situation here is the one drop rule of the African blood, the black blood. I don't know why he threw in the whole German, Korean, and all that stuff. That is irrelevant. We already know your game. We already know what we're operating off of. Weaponizing the one drop rule, which you want to, they want to. They're not going to relinquish that influence. They just want to be the beneficiaries of the one drop rule. We already went over this. He's upset when a guy like Drake or Amber Rose can claim to be black when it benefits them. And then they can throw that black shit away and just be with white people. They don't like that. They want to be the ones to have control over your identity. That's why the guy, his title of his video, he says right here, understanding identity, being mixed race versus black. See, with him, he's like a Dr. Umar. They want to have control over your identity and how you think. That's to them is power. They don't want you to be able to use blackness when it benefits you. But these are the same people who want to weaponize the one drop rule on blackness against you. Make it make sense. Nobody is signing up for that shit. Nobody who's self-respecting and has dignity will allow you people to have influence over them. I won't. If that means they're going to call me a anti-black racist and a bad guy, that's just the way it is. And you guys got to prove it, and that's fine. all my videos and community posts and all that stuff, go ahead. That's fine. You people don't have power over me. You don't run shit over here. None of the operations I'm operating. You don't have a say over here. You're a guest over here in the mulatto space. You are a guest. We will treat you as a guest. You're lucky to be over here. If you're out of line, boy, we will block you and get you up out of here. Period.
Why does it only apply to us? Because of that old slavery crap, to where you were considered tainted because you had a black gene in you. No, you're still all mixed. Whoever you are, you have a mixed race. You get what I'm saying? So stop saying kids are black just because they got some black gene. No, they're not. They are mixed race with whoever the black was mixed with. Let's fix that, people. You get what I'm saying? Let's fix that. So I just wanted to share that with all this stuff that's going on around, in the media and the news and everything. People want to play both cards or whatever when they choose.
He's talking to his own damn people. People want to play both cards or whatever when they choose. See, he doesn't like the fact the mutability. That's the theme here. Mutability. He doesn't like the fact that a lot of these mulattoes, like Amber Rose, who's kind of quadroon, whatever, and then Drake mulatto, they don't like the fact how they can pick and choose and they have a wide audience. They can pick and choose and the mutability. They don't like that because they don't have access to that. They can't do that. He's stuck with blacks. He can do the coon charade and the minstrel show, and he can do his little dumb on YouTube. They have a bunch of these like reaction, what they call these like these videos where they I guess like a black guy who's like first listening to this is white people music, listening to rock and roll for the first time, and it's like I forgot what they call these videos, but like they have these type of videos out here. This whole genre. It's like a minstrel show. You look at Tommy Sotomayor. They call him Crispy, some crispy cockroach. You look at a guy like him, Tommy Soto Moisture. A guy like that who can build a following with a lot of white people who follow and listen to him. How is a guy like that a talentless hack? He's like a pro WWE pro wrestling fan. A guy like that can build a following. All he does is talk shit about black females. That's his whole platform, talking shit about black females, acting like he's so special and these black people are ghetto. It's like, and you have a, a guy like that can build a following. Like a lot of these people, they can build a following like that. I don't take you people seriously. I'm just surprised you run your stupid mouth about mulattoes. You don't think we're going to be listening to you people? You think we're still going to be trying to be up in your group, trying to get your acceptance? Only the biracial baby mama who has no other options is the only person who's trying to be cool with you. None of the men with dignity, none of the women with dignity who are proud to be mulatto, they're not with all this. Okay.
Is convenient for them. So you're mixed.
Yeah, that's all it is. I'll share the clip. It was just like a 5-minute clip, whatever. Yeah, we're an hour deep into this. I said a lot. I got a lot of you people tuning in, which it's always suspected. Where else are you going to get this mulatto content? Who else is going to give you this cutting edge mulatto content? Cutting edge, I mean, just like off the cusp, straight up no chaser mulatto content. Who else is going to give you guys this shit? You're not going to get this nowhere else. You're going to get this mulatto perspective. Who are you going to go to? A lot of these mulattoes I see, they're kissing black ass, or they're kissing white ass, especially these fucking conservative grifter ass mulattoes, the Hodge twins, or whatever light skin you call them, but they were like literally like 50% European mulatto. They're kissing white ass. Like, where else is you gonna get this mulatto perspective? Where else? On YouTube, social media? You ain't got nobody else, buddy. That's why you're tuning in here. Go ahead and hit that link, call up. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes before I get the hell up out of here. So I'm going to give you guys some time. You guys can go ahead and call up. or hit the link, whatever, and I'll check out some of your guys' comments right here, because I think I'm being kind of generous this evening. Yeah, so go ahead and call up, guys. Hit the link.
Space. A boy has the right to dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before him.
Trust in your own power.
Whatever happens from now on, you stand firm and face your destiny without fear, but with courage.
What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose.
No one's gonna give you a map. You've got to walk your own path.
The children leave their homes in search of this quest.
What is thy desire?
As they search, they are always asking questions. What's out there? What's waiting for me?
Why was I made? Who made me? And what did they make me for?
Are you gonna go up into space with your old man or not? Maybe I'll never get over this. I've lived my life following my dreams, and I don't have any regrets.
You gonna just keep running away?
Just keep running away? I'm not running.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't fear failure.
What's up? El Mulatto, you're live. Exactly what you said here. They want Drake to be guilty of something so they'll believe any BS they hear. In the court of public opinion, there's no factual evidence. They have nothing to prove. It's all whataboutism. Very bizarre, but they're losing because it's like, I'm going to have more into this in the future. I'm going to provide more evidence and receipts on this situation because Drake really, the situation with Drake opened up a whole can of worms with the whole smear campaigns and how people want to destroy a man's credibility with false allegations and smears. And it's to a degree now where people are basically looking at the accusers and looking at them like, well, wait a second, what's your motive? Why are you trying to paint this man in a negative light? What's your issue? What's your agenda? Why do you have an issue with that man? That's how people are because they've desensitized the public when they're spreading these false allegations that are very serious allegations. And they're not providing any evidence, any receipts. They're just throwing it out there. They've desensitized the public. And with the Drake, that's a macrocosm situation. But it trickles all the way down. And I think for him, especially because he's a biracial man, remember, there's a lot of anti-biracial male sentiment in society. And it's unfortunate you do have biracial women who jump on the bandwagon. Now, I'm not saying all, I'm not saying most, but there's a lot who do. And if they get called out for it, they're going to get fucking called out for it. Okay. And there is no gender war stuff. We're not pushing that because most of my supporters are, not most, but a large percentage of them are mulatto biracial women. And it's funny because with a guy like me, they'll sit there and say, you're a panderer, you're a simp, you pander to these women. You know, and there's a guy making a video. I like the guy. I like his commentary, but he was kind of trying to clown me for the fact that I do community posts talking about mulatto love. And he was sitting there basically saying, well, cut the bullshit. These women, and I'm like, either way, they tell me that I'm like hating on biracial women, or they tell me that I'm like a simp for biracial women.
You can't win with these people.
You cannot fucking win either way. A guy like me, I try to be as balanced and even as I can, giving all parties the benefit of the doubt. But it's like I still get, but it's because I'm effective. It's because of what I'm doing is working. People are listening. People are encouraged and inspired. And that's ultimately what they hate. They hate the fact that I have an audience and people are encouraged by the words that I'm saying. And I have an impact more than a lot of other people have. I haven't even tapped into this yet. Really, my full potential. But shout out to you. I know it's a late stream. I'm not sure your time zone, but like I said, I kind of jump up on here at late night and just do this shit because this is when I have the free time.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember whenever I first found your channel, I was like, whoa, this guy is talking about like mulatto topics, and he's got a pretty good following. And I think a lot of other people that are against us have that same mentality. They're like, wait, you're only supposed to have like 2 subscribers. What are you doing, like being successful and getting people to listen to you? How dare you?
Yeah, globally too. When I got Pardos in Brazil, when I got Cape Coloreds, they're in the chat. I got colored people from South Africa. When I got mulattoes in the UK, I got a couple in the chat. When I got mulattoes around the globe, around the planet, who are listening to little old me, insignificant little old me, yeah, that says something.
Yeah, one of the things I loved seeing was you with Beatriz, because I spent a lot of time like studying Portuguese and like learning about Brazil, and so I had already known about a lot of like the race issues down there, and then to see the two of y'all like linking up and making content, that was so awesome. And we definitely need to make more content like that, because I know Elroy, he was mentioning in the chat about how like we need to like go to like South Africa, because a lot of I think specifically a lot of Americans, like pro-Black Americans, are going down there and doing their thing. And I totally agree, like, traveling the world, getting to know other mixed people and learning from them.
No doubt. And it's funny, like you were saying, like it's you can't win either way, because I do that. That's what, like, my content, I want to connect with mixed people, mulattoes around the world. Like you were saying, you can't win either way, because there's a guy, he's a saboteur, he's a bisexual Black guy who's mad that straight men reject him. He has a whole troll account, and he's basically saying on one of his posts, he's like, he doesn't like mulatto women. That's why he goes to Brazil and England to talk to mulatto women, because he doesn't like mulatto women. It's like, no, I go where the opportunity is. Like, we can connect with around the world. Like, that's the thing. So you can't win either way. Like, they're gonna find something you do and painting as negative, right? So like, I'm a public guy. Like, I'm open to work with anybody. You guys have my email. You have my Instagram. You guys message me. Like, these women like reached out to me, like, these relationships where it's like we can talk and communicate, create content. It's such a great opportunity. And I agree with you. Like, the next step is to go to South Africa, connect with colored people, because you're right. Like, a lot of the YouTube content creators I see videos based in South Africa, and they're American like content creators. They're Black and they're Afrocentric. and they're trying to paint like the colored population is like being black or a mixed race black, kind of like the guy did in the video. And it's like, well, we need mixed race identified, mulatto identified content creators to cover these colored or mixed race content. Like, we don't need Afrocentric speaking for us.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, pointing out that like that's the thing for me. I envision this. My goal was to travel around the world and talk to mixed people. But it's just funny because like there's people, we have saboteurs who will paint, they'll take something I'm doing that's positive and they'll paint it as if like, well, you don't like mixed race American women, but it's like, well, my core audience is like mulatto American women. So just because you haven't seen published a public video with me sitting down with these women, that doesn't mean there's not going to be dozens of them in the near future. It just hasn't happened yet. But you can't win either way. When you're in social media, like people, they want to damage you and destroy your reputation because they hate the fact that you are influential. I mean, for a guy like me, they hate it because people do not want this content being out there. They do not want mulattoes like yourself and others to be inspired and to start making content.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I've kind of haven't really been concerned about like trying to prove things to people that are outside of our group. Like, we are mulattoes. Like, if I feel the need to prove something, it's to prove something to y'all. But when it comes to like these people outside of the community that like outright hate us, or at the very least they just don't like us, like I why would I try to prove anything to you? Like, your opinion means nothing to me. But I also agree with the point that you made about going overseas and stuff. One of the things that America is really good about doing is exporting its culture, and specifically like the worst parts of its culture. Like, I remember I was down in Peru one time, and I was at this really nice plaza, like these really nice cathedral, these like 18th 17th century buildings and stuff. And then right there in one of these like really nice buildings was a McDonald's. And I was like, what the hell is this thing doing here? Why are we exporting this to the other countries? And so like Elroy was saying in the chat, a lot of these pro-blacks are exporting the one drop rule. They are
Right.
It is infecting other countries. And I think there are people who are seeing through the BS and trying to resist that. And I'm all about supporting them, people in other countries trying to resist that.
Agreed. Yeah. And shout out to Elroy Swartz right here. And I agree with this comment. Trump is a buffoon. I'm not MAGA. I'm not a MAGA guy. I'm not a pro-Trump guy. Trump is a buffoon. Okay. He's an idiot. And I know you're saying that because you saw recently the president of South Africa was in the Oval Office with Trump and all this stuff. But yeah, Trump is a buffoon. He can virtue signal the white nationalists all he wants, but Trump is still in the back pockets of the Zionists, and these white nationalists, they know it. They just want temporary wins with the culture wars. They just want to one up black people and black Americans and stuff like that, or this president of South Africa who's a black. They just want to kind of like one up and ha, we are so back in this Anglo guy. But Trump is in the back pocket of the Israeli lobby and the Zionists. And these white nationalists, they know that. So they can try to signal their little virtue signal, their little wins here and there. But we know who's running their rear end. So yeah, Trump is a buffoon. He's bought and paid for it. I get it. But I want to keep this mulatto specific. Don't want to get, too much into the politics stuff. But mix is mixed except those who do not want to be mixed. The Owl Show, you replied, you said, it's sad to see the current state of Creoles. I hope they have a revival someday. Interesting. I have a lot of respect for Creoles. There's a lot of Creole people who are Creole identified who are subscribed to my channel and even followers or supporters, I can say. I prefer the term supporter versus follower because I'm like, I know vanguard, leadership, so there's going to be a following component, but I like the term supporters. I think it's more fitting. And there's Creole people, yeah, like I have a big supporter, in our Discord, Creole man, who's shouted me out plenty of times on TikTok, and he's a supporter and stuff. And there's a lady in the chat here, Creole lady and stuff like that. So like I think there's a lot of them. There's a revival with the Creole identity. They're claiming it back. They're reclaiming their identity because they know like there's a lot of it. It's been kind of stolen from them. It's been hijacked. And it's the same for us as mulattoes. I think that's why they kind of relate to us as mulattoes, because a lot of their identity has been co-opted and stolen and ciphered away from them. And they're trying to reclaim it back and say, well, this is ours. This is our history. This is part of who we are. We don't want to give it up to Afrocentrics who want to just erase everything. Like they want to weaponize the one drop rule and erase everyone's identity on the planet and just make it a pro dark skin like agenda where it's like not everyone's gonna go along with that stuff, and yeah, like for the
So
move.
I think with Creoles, they're you're completely right about how things are, and like they have an amazing culture, but it's also just a sign. It's a warning that even if you manage to develop a culture and ethnicity and get it going for decades or even 100 years, it can get wiped out by people who are just trying to dominate you. And that's why I've always been trying to find cultures, research cultures, and people that have managed to preserve their identity and their customs for long periods of time.
Most definitely, this lady here definitely has a channel. She has several channels, but with this specific channel she's commenting on, she promotes the Creole identity full force with this. She puts here the few internet weirdos are not representative of how we are doing in real life. Yeah. And I think she puts another comment. Let me check this out. There is a revival of the language since a few of our generations were beaten for speaking it, and one of our tribes are close to getting federal recognition. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so for her, I see I'm subscribed to her, and I know she's a Creole advocate. Like I said, even the gentleman, you know, um, we're mutuals with, he's definitely has real testimony of his family in the Creole traditions, Louisiana Creole, etc. So it's I like to see it. It's very inspiring for us. It's a good thing to see. Like they're, I want them to reclaim it back. I support them. I'm pro Creole. I want them to claim it back, to have their own independent identity.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they need to go this far, but the French Canadians, they are very adamant about preserving their culture and specifically their language. I think it is damn near illegal to speak English if you're in like that part of Canada, in Quebec, and like all of the signs have to be in French. I don't even know if they allow any other languages to be like on menus or documents or anything. To me, that's a little bit too far, but you do have to be very serious about preserving your culture and your identity, and you got to be proactive about it.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can as far as mulatto Americans. Like when I see these petitions, I share them. Now, I've never created a petition. I've always endorsed and supported them. It's actually the mulatto women who are the ones doing the heavy lifting as far as these petitions. Like you have Mixed Lens, her recent petition I'm promoting, supporting, and also, of course, Renata Mulata, her petition, and of course, Flowers Telling Stewart. So there's another lady actually in the UK who has a petition I've shared and promoted, getting mixed race like Heritage Month or something like that over in the UK. So it's like these are women, these are mulatto women, or the one in the UK, mixed race women. So it's like they're doing that heavy lifting, creating these petitions, and I'm all for it, and I'm all supporting it, endorsing it. I think it's a great start. It's definitely good to galvanize public support when you have this petition, you have this kind of formality that's structured where people can look to see, okay, this is something that we can work towards. There's a goal here, there's an end goal here. Yeah. So in anything like that, like when I see that, I'm just always going to fully support it. And I just think that we need more of that. And it's really good. I'm happy I see guys like you creating content, raising consciousness, even the Michigan mulatto mindset. I'm seeing a bunch of new channels, bunch of, people create videos and content, whether it's on TikTok or because mulatto mindset has already been creating content. He's got a ton of subscribers. Like he's been creating content. I guess he found my page, but now he's creating some extra content, right? Instead of the travel stuff, now he's kind of covering some mulatto stuff because he saw me. Or I guess I'll take credit for it, but shout out to him. I respect him for that. But it's a good thing. That's what I've envisioned from the start as well. There was another gentleman who created a channel like a month or a couple months ago, and he created several videos, but he like ended up deleting his channel. And that kind of like, it was kind of like a disheartening thing to see. I was like, why did you create your channel? You're on to a good start. That mulatto consciousness, like you're awakening. And he was a fitness dude. He's like a fitness guru. He was all into fitness, but he started making some mulatto content. But then he ended up like deleting his channel. And I don't know where he's at. He could still be listening. He could still be one of these like, listener, tuner ins, whatever. But like he did his channel, and it's just, damn, I wish he would have kept at it. That's the goal is for all of us, because I eventually want to just jump into the background and just do my own shit. I want these other people, other people, to jump into the forefront and to be the voice. I'm not special. I'm not the prettiest. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the nicest guy. I'm not special. I just have consistency. I have a vision. And this is why I'm still here. Yeah, the one drop rule in African nations, they will one drop you into whiteness. And you said the one drop rule cannot work in African nations. They will one drop you into whiteness in those African nations. They'll be like, oh, you white man. I got called a white man in Ghana. I was like, damn, really? Do I look like white man? I guess.
Well, that's what I heard. They call it, what's the term they use? I don't know if it's the right one. Misugu or Misugunu or something along that line.
In every country, they have a different word. In Kenya,
right,
they'll say Mzungu in Kenya. But
Mzungu.
I've been to Ghana. In Ghana, they'll call you Baruni. In Liberia, they'll call you Yankee. So in every country, they have a different word they'll call for like a white man, a white person. In Kenya, it's Mzungu.
Oh, yeah. Liberia? Well, Liberia is... I don't want to get into Liberia. Don't need enough controversy. But
what about the topic? What about the video that I covered? What's your thoughts on that? Because the guy he called us mixed race blacks. What I'm saying is the whole premise here is they want to hold on to that one drop rule in their back pocket and throw it on us and use it on us whenever they want. So they'll publicly try to lie and pretend they're against the one drop rule. But see, they're really against the men, the biracial men claiming to be black, and they're against the women if the woman has a white partner like a Holly Berry. That's why he picked Holly Berry. If it was a biracial female who had a black partner, he wouldn't have said that crap. I already know these people. See, they're against and he said he was against us biracial people being able to claim black when it's convenient. But this is the same guy who will claim mixed people as being black when it's convenient to him. They want to weaponize the one drop rule. And I'm here saying there, fuck that. I'm not allowing them to do that anymore. We're going to challenge them on this. That's my position here. But what's your thoughts on that, Al? Or you got
first of all, a couple of things. Number one, I've never understood. Well, I understand it, but I find that the argument that biracial people claim being African American when it's convenient. Can you name? I want to say to these people, what do you mean by convenient? What is convenient?
Yeah, what's the benefit?
How is it? Yeah, what is the convenience? Right? It's not a matter of convenience because that makes no sense. Oh, they claim it when it's convenient. Don't you mean when it's beneficial? Therefore, you would have to define what the benefit is. Because that's what they're really saying. Oh, you derive benefits from it. Yeah, you derive benefit from it. What they really mean is beneficial. But they don't say beneficial. What they say is convenient. Well,
I don't know.
What is the convenience? Can you explain that to me?
They might get like some like swag, some hood swag or something. Like I think they're looking at Drake, where it's like, oh, well, he could pretend to be from the hood so he can promote his hip hop career. But it's like you see videos of Drake when he was a 9-year-old boy with his father singing songs to like Lauryn Hill or the Fugees doing hip hop songs. Like you see him as a kid on camera with this black American father singing songs. So it's like it just falls on deaf ears when they try to play that game that Drake is just using the black thing to get famous, where it's like that's his part of his culture. So
again,
what other biracial are they going to try to pull that crap on? Go ahead.
Right. Again, what they really mean is beneficial.
They can't.
It's a benefit.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is this: when they say convenient, it's convenient. What they really mean is beneficial, because the problem that individuals like the guy in the video had about biracial people is a matter of advantage versus disadvantage. This gets into one of the reasons why mixed race people are problematic within African American communities, because they're seen as people who are getting a unfair advantage over African Americans, over monoracial people. That's what it really comes down to, and that's how it should be explained. It's the idea of the unfair advantage, right? Any other aspect is expressed through the lens of the unfair advantage. That's why these individuals are saying they should be separate, they should be bifurcated, they should be unto themselves, because of the argument and the belief that mulattoes, mixed race people, biracial people, multiracial people have enjoyed and enjoy an unfair advantage in those communities.
You hit the nail on the head with that. You hit the nail on
Absolutely.
the head. It's the unfair advantage. They view our
That's what they really mean.
They view our mutability with the white society and general population as having an unfair advantage, where they are still basically, they're a subclass, a subgroup. They are not in the dominant society. We're saying in North America, United States of America. I know Elward Schwartz, who's on a panel, he's in South Africa, where blacks are a majority, but in the United States of America, blacks are a minority. So in the video I covered, he is a black American guy, right? So, and that's what the Owl Show is expressing, with his issue, the black guy in the video, they are upset with mulatto Americans in our mutability because they view us as having an unfair advantage, where we're very palatable to the greater population, to Latinos, to Asians, to Anglos, to whites, and even black people. Everyone listens to Drake. Okay. They're upset that the fact that where a guy like Drake or Vin Diesel or The Rock, whatever celebrity, they can be everything for everybody. They can play all these characters. But a black person, a black male, like the guy in the video, he can't. He can only be a black guy. So they envy, resent biracial men because of that. That's that unfair advantage that what the Al show is expressing. Good point.
That's what the argument is. When you mention the convenience, it's not really convenience. They don't care about the convenience of choosing one or the other. It's irrelevant to them. What they care about is that biracial people are believed to have a unfair advantage and an advantage over African Americans within their community. This is the problem. And this is the problem that some people will express. So when you hear what you mentioned, the guy before, irritated genie, talking about Chancellor Williams, this is fundamentally what they're talking about. And they also go into other aspects, because what they also believe is that when you have a mulatto person or you have the mixed race within basically an African American community or communities, you also have a population that look out for themselves fundamentally. They're not looking out for African Americans. They are, in their eyes, disloyal and traitorous, and they use those terms. Why? Because these are people of different cultures and different ethnic groups, and they have different options that they can choose. So again, it comes down, when you talk about community, it comes down to the community. So their argument is, you cannot deal with the mulatto, you cannot deal with the biracial, you cannot deal with the multiracial, because they can always choose not to deal with you and not to be a part of that community, whereas the African American cannot. I mean, they can choose not to be part of an African American community, but they can never stop being African American. Yeah,
like
they can never do that.
Like a Tommy Sotomayor or like a Tariq Nasheed, they can play the FBA game or all this stuff, but they're still black at the end of the day, Black American, right?
Right. Point. And the thing about, I just wanted to finish this before you move on. When you mentioned up Sotomayor, what you see with people like that, with Sotomayor, he's somebody that despises his own people, meaning monoracial African Americans.
Yeah, I know.
He clearly has personal issues and problems, especially with black women. It's the guy is horrendous.
Yeah,
horrendous.
I don't like him.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. I mean he has these. So that's what happens, is that these individuals, you see the people who have these resentments, right? And these individuals, I don't know what Sotomayor thinks of mixed race people, because I don't know the state.
Men. He's a typical dark-skinned Bantu. He doesn't like the mulatto men, but he likes the mulatto women. He's a typical that's why mulatto women will interview with him and gee and laugh and smile. The mulatto women, you'll see, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying some of them, they'll like that guy, right? They'll be cool with him. Oh, he's nice. He was nice to me. Yeah, because he's a dark-skinned Bantu. He likes the mulatto women, but he doesn't like us men. It's the men who got to put their fucking foot down and call a spade a spade. Now, I have Elroy Swartz up here. I don't want to waste his time. Gentleman from South Africa. Look at the comment I got here. It says, you guys need to start visiting South Africa and build connections with us. Hey, I'm with you, brother. That's my goal. I don't know when I'm going to go down there, but it's on my list of travels. You say Pan-Africanist black supremacists come here all the time to connect with other Bantus. And he puts here, Dr. Umar is here at the moment. Yeah, you're right. And I appreciate you being up here on the panel. I'd like to have you add some thoughts on that, because my goal is to go to South Africa eventually, for sure. Connect with you guys.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Your audio is good. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Yes. Concerning what you said now about Africa and the one drop rule, I would say that it depends on which region you go to in Africa, because you take, for example, I think West Africa, as well as maybe Central Africa, where there's not like a lot of white people or mixed race people. So the people there are maybe not that used. They just know black people only. So they're not that used to other kind of races. So then what they will do, if you present as a little bit on the light side, then they will maybe call you white or presume that you are white. But then you go to North Africa is more Arabic than anything else. So there you maybe not be seen as white. And then East Africa, you have people like the Ethiopians, people who also have admixture. So there, I don't think they'll consider you to be white. And then in Southern Africa, the whole region of Southern Africa, which is about 16 countries, are mixed race people. It's only in South Africa. Southern Africa, there's a difference between the two. Southern Africa is all of the countries in that region. South Africa is the individual country. So in South Africa, there is the colored people who are like maybe 6 million. And also in Namibia, you have colored people. And also in Zimbabwe, you have colored people. But it's only in South Africa that it's like the most prominent and more than the other regions. But in South Africa, you won't be a mixed race people like a mulatto or maybe even a Creole person won't be seen as white. Maybe they'll mistake you for being colored because that happens to light presenting or to mix race or even light-skinned Americans. When they come to South Africa, people just assume that maybe they are colored, and so some of them will start speaking to you in maybe Afrikaans, and until you say, no, I'm not colored, I'm a black, I'm from South, I'm from America, then only then they'll say, okay, well, maybe apologize, but then they will treat you differently. I remember some time ago hearing a testimony of a Black American woman who was light skinned. So she came to South Africa and then she said that people treated her as if she is colored. So I suppose something like that is possible if you can hide for long enough, if you can hide the fact that you are American, people will absolutely treat you as if you are colored. So yeah, it depends really on where in Africa, because not the whole Africa is the same. It's like 54 countries.
Hey, Elray, I've got a question. So the Koisan are a major group that I think in South Africa and in Southern Africa. How do they tend to identify?
Okay, yeah, the Koisan is a major one for us colored people. It's basically, I always tell people that colored people are essentially mixed race descendants of the Koisan people. The Koisan people are like the first people of South Africa, of Southern Africa. They used to own the whole region. That is before the Bantus, because you must remember, there's a difference genetically between the Koisan people and the Bantus. So the Koisan owned the whole region of Southern Africa historically. And then what happened is the Bantus migrated from Central and West Africa downwards. And then some of them came to Southern Africa, even South Africa. Some of them intermingled and, intermarried with the Koisan, and some of them also, some of the Bantus today in South Africa also do carry Koisan genes. The Koisan people even influence their culture in terms of the language of some of the Bantu groups in South Africa is also influenced by the Koisan people. But now, when it comes to the colored people have a closer relationship to the Koisan, because if you can go to the west, to the Northern Cape today, the Northern Cape is literally known as Koisan province, because there are many Koisan people still living in that province. Some of them live in colored communities. Some of them still live like in the bushes where they live like they used to live back in the day. So in some cases in the Northern Cape, some of the colored people they even look like the Koisan people. That is how much admixture they have of the Koisan people. That's how much admixture the colored people have. So I would say that the overwhelming majority of colored people do have Koisan genes. Not all, I would say maybe like 10% don't have, but most of us do. Like for me, myself, for example, my father's family is from the Northern Cape, which is, like I said, it's a Khoisan province. So I definitely have a strong connection to them as well. But they do not see themselves as Bantu. Today, Bantu people, what they want to do today is they want to distance colored people from the Khoisan people, because what happens is, if they were to acknowledge that Khoisan people and colored people are essentially the same, that means that they have to share the land with the colored people. And that means that they can't continue treating colored people as if they are foreigners or second class citizens, because they are connected to the original owners of the land. So that is happening at the moment.
So the reason I ask is because there are a lot of people, mainly Americans, who point to the Koisan, because the Koisan are a like naturally light-skinned native African population, and so a lot of Americans are pointing to the Koisan and saying, "See, look, they black, they got light skin, so black comes in all shades." And I mean, I'm not from South Africa. I've only done a little bit of research into the Khoisan and South Africa, and I'm like, I'm not seeing how they can make this claim that the Khoisan are black when they, like you mentioned, like there's a big genetic difference between the Khoisan and all the Bantus that eventually migrated into Southern Africa. So I think you cleared it up for me that the Koisan, for the most part, they don't view themselves as Bantu. They don't view themselves as like black, and I think that's really I like that.
No, they don't. Like I said, there is that. What happened is that there was some intermarriage that occurred between the two groups, especially in the Eastern Cape. There's a Bantu tribe known as the Xhosa people. So those people, I would say, they are the one Bantu group that, outside of colored people, have the most Khoisan genes. Even their language was heavily influenced by the Khoisan people. But the colored people still carry more Khoisan genes than any other group in South Africa. And today we have a situation where a lot of the Bantus actually want to deny that fact.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I think it's great that the way things are in South Africa, that you essentially have all these different groups of people, and they're not being forced under one umbrella like we are here in the U.S. with the one drop rule.
No, what happened is, when the intermixing happened between the races, and that happened in 1652, where like slaves were brought to the Cape Colony from places like Malaysia, Indonesia, Madagascar, and so on and so on. What happened then is that the offspring of at some point, those people became free people, right? So then they started to intermingle with each other, and as well as with the Khoisan people, as well as with the colonizers themselves, because it wasn't only the Dutch colonizers that were present in the Cape Colony at the time. It was the Dutch, and it was the French, and it was the British, it was the Portuguese, and the Germans. Hence, a lot of colored people today actually have admixture from all of those groups. So it's all of it is the colonizers group, and then it is a group that were enslaved, that were brought to South Africa as slaves, and then you have the Khoisan, and then you even have some of the Bantu tribes. that make up the gene pool of Koisan, of colored people, that make up the gene pool of colored people. So when the mixing occurred, the people, the colonizers at the time made sure to separate the races between those who are mixed and those who are like pure-blooded African people. So that is where the separation occurred. So there was no like one-drop rule situation where everyone was like grouped together under one umbrella. They separated the races there.
Yeah, so we were having this conversation in the chat, and it was kind of similar in Brazil, like I was saying. So in Brazil, the Portuguese were greatly outnumbered by the Africans, by the indigenous people, and so it was beneficial for them to then divide people up. And I should also add, it was the same in a lot of the Spanish colonies too. It was much better for them to divide the people up so that there wouldn't be like this unified uprising against the Europeans. Now, a lot of people like Americans, a lot of pro-blacks are going to say, see, it's divide and conquer. We shouldn't have ever been separated. And it's like, no. Yeah. It's like, maybe the reason why they separated us was wrong, but that doesn't mean that we should be together. Like it was right that we should have been separated. But the reason was obviously like, racism. But in the US, it was almost the exact opposite situation. What was happening here is that the white Europeans greatly outnumbered the African slaves and the indigenous people. So at that point, it was like, there's no reason to like divide you up, mulattoes and quadroons. It was just like you're all black. It's just so much easier that way. You're all and this is where the term people of color came from. So today they like to say that colored people is offensive, but people of color, POC, POC, that's fine. But actually, people of color has been used since the 17th and 18th centuries to just describe non-white people. And that's pretty much how they viewed people here in the US. And obviously they eventually like codified that into law with I don't know, Mulatto Vanguard, you might know better than that, about that better than me, when they actually implemented like legally the one-drop rule. But that's kind of the reason why things happened that way in different parts of the world. Sometimes we were given like our own identity and we were separated and we had our own space, but in America, it just didn't happen that way.
Well, here's the tricky part about America. What happened in America is that after the Civil War and getting into the 20th century is when the mulatto or the mixed race fundamentally lost what little status they had or what basic status they had in American lives. In some southern states, depending on the fraction, if you were of a certain mixed race caliber, you were not considered black. And you were probably not considered white. You were considered an intermediate. I mean, that's why mulatto was used as a category on the census anyway. Because if biracial people and mixed race people were fundamentally black, period, in America, there would be no mulatto category on the census. There'd be no reason to count mixed race people. And if you put something on a census, which is the official count of the US, there has to be a reason for it. It's not willy-nilly. It's not done. It's done for a reason, right? So with the mixed race in America, meaning the biracial, black-white biracial, not black mixed, as the guy in the video said, not that, because that doesn't mean anything. Black-white, biracial, multiracial mixed. You had communities in places like Charleston, South Carolina, and Louisiana. You had the Creole in Louisiana, very tight-knit, I think to some extent, still very tight-knit people. And you did have a degree of community for mulatto people, for biracial people, for multiracial people. E. Franklin Frazier in his book Black Bourgeoisie notes that the mulatto were different compared to African Americans, right? They were more culturally European. They, for example, had French literary societies. They were into British and French music. So there were differences, right? But was it as distinct? It obviously wasn't distinct and permanently separate like it has been in South Africa, and how like it has been in probably some other African nations, and even in Brazil. So that's the problem. It changed. It changed in the United States. That's why Plessy v. Ferguson is important. That's why the 1924 Racial Integrity Act in Virginia is important. There was more and more race obsession because, I would say, because of segregation. To make segregation work, you have to determine who's black. And the easiest way to determine who's black is the one drop rule. You have one drop, you have a relative, that's all you need. Simple, easy, horrible, but simple and easy. So it changed for biracial people, it changed for multiracial people in the US. But yeah, it's nothing like Brazil or even South Africa. And so it's a little complicated. But the interesting thing about South Africa to me is that, well, what I was going to say is this. Elroy had made a comment about coming to South Africa and meeting up. And I think that's a good idea. But I think one thing that I do see, unfortunately, there's a black guy who was going into some of these colored communities who was putting up YouTube videos. I guess he means well, but the impression I get from the videos that I've seen of these South African communities that are colored is that basically they are, how do I put this, ghetto or rundown or slum. Whether he intends that or not, that's the impression. Yeah, and that rubbed me the wrong way. That rubbed me the wrong. Look, I know some communities have issues. Yeah,
it's a Black American.
I don't know his name.
YouTuber.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I looked at that and I said, yeah, I think that I would say be careful about the people that you let into those communities, because they may give the impression that, and the colored have a lot of issues in South Africa. There's a good deal of incarceration. It's horrible in terms of employment.
There's a lot of discrimination with employment.
It's
and that's
horrific.
something that we need to research on as well, because I think for us here in America, like, we can get jobs. There's a lot of work. There's a plentiful work here, but there's a lot of workplace discrimination. I've talked about this before as well, that the major difference here is in the United States, there's job opportunities. We can get jobs. Like, I basically promote us being sole proprietors, being our own business owners, being self-employed, and networking with other mulattoes. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for jobs here in the States, but there's a lot of discrimination. I recently went through that. There's another mulatto gentleman that I've contacted with, and he's going through currently, a legal situation. I can say that, based off workplace discrimination. So as mulatto men, like, we face a lot of discrimination in the workplace environment. So that's one challenge. But yeah, I sympathize with colored people, and I've noted and documented just my observation that there's a lot of scarcity with job access and resources, because a lot of the Bantus, who are a majority of power there, they do not want to hire colored people. They openly discriminate against colored people for job access in that society. And that's something, I think we should probably basically research and investigate to see why that is. Because look what they're doing with the Trump administration, where they see they're bringing in like these white South Africans, like they sympathize with them and their plight there. And they're, probably blowing it out of proportion, the whole situation there, because Trump is virtue signaling. Trump is in the back pockets of the Zionists in Israel. So he's virtue signaling the Anglo white supremacist by using this whole South Africa situation, right? We get it. His base. He's like, oh, look at these poor white people. They're being discriminated against in South Africa. So he's using that to virtue signal his retarded base, okay? The Coors Light drinking hillbillies, okay? And we get that. But for us as mulattoes in America, we got to look to see, okay, the colored people are being discriminated against. with job opportunities and the Bantus, what they're doing over there with them, marginalizing them, how can we assist them if we can? I mean, can we help ourselves out? I think we can. I think we're doing a pretty damn good job. I know with me, I'm doing just connecting with you guys. Everything's working out according to plan. But the fact that we're up here talking about this, having these conversations open to the public, we're making a drastic step forward for diplomacy and networking. So I want to hear more of Elroy Swartz, or El Mulatto. Go ahead if you want to tune in.
Yeah, real quick, two things. The fact that, so I didn't know this about the coloreds facing discrimination from like the Bantus, but that is just a perfect example of why just identifying as Black doesn't mean you're automatically going to get, these quote benefits that they apparently have. I didn't know. They're not going to accept you. The second they get any kind of real power, then they're just going to cast you out. And then the second thing that I'll say is one of the things that I'm pretty sure we've all seen here in America is like whenever you have like these kind of ethnic groups here in America that maybe a flood of immigrants come and then they start building up their own businesses, and then who are they hiring? It's their own people. I live in a predominantly like white and Hispanic area, and it's no surprise that whenever any local business is owned by like a Mexican guy, like all the people working there just happen to be Mexican too, and so we definitely need to get to a point where we're when we're building our own community, we have like you said, we're starting businesses, we're developing skills that are actually going to be useful to help us be self-sufficient, and that we're helping our own people.
100%. I agree with you 100%. That's exactly it. Developing skill sets, fraternity, brotherhood, looking out for the group, the community, and that's exactly what I envision. That's what we should all envision 100%. Elroy Swartz, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Yes, I am aware of the videos on YouTube that Al was referring to. I don't actually think that the guy who documents those who does those videos actually has any kind of a malicious intent. I think he is very respectful when he goes to the colored neighborhoods. I think what his actual intention is to be as real as possible and to act as some kind of a voice, because what he does is he always asks the people when he interviews them or when he goes up to them, he asks them as to how it feels like or what it's like to be a colored person in South Africa. So that is then where the people have an opportunity to speak about their experiences and to speak about the marginalization and to bring up all of these things. So he doesn't only go into like underdeveloped and rundown areas. He does also go into the nice places. I remember some time ago, there was like a middle class colored family who invited him into their house. So they had a whole thing where they cooked and they had a whole interview, and he delved into the history of the family. And after that, they went to some colored neighborhoods. So it doesn't only show like ghetto or ghetto-esque areas. It does also show the nice areas, and there are also some colors who are actually middle class, though the majority of us are not. The overwhelming majority are not middle class, and they are very specific, up until recently at least, very specific government policies specifically targeting colored people, and with the intent of keeping them out of economic opportunities. Up until recently, it was like it went under the radar and no one talked about it, and everyone just pretended as if it doesn't exist. But I think couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the work that is being done by the Patriotic Alliance, which is a predominantly colored party, who went into government as soon as they got elected into parliament, started to expose all of these things, and started to make and is actually at the moment working on bringing about change and rolling back all of these blatantly anti-colored policies of the government. So that is what is happening at the moment. Yes, we are marginalized to an extent, but I would say, if you take my local police station, for example, if I went there like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I would have seen maybe only black policemen, black staff exclusively. I would have maybe, if I went to the whole place or went around the whole area, I would have found maybe 1 or 2 color detectives in the whole place. But today, if I go there, today, there's like 70% of the staff working at the police station today are colored. So there are actual changes happening in our colored community. And I would say that it's not only in my local area where I live, I would say that it's everywhere. So the work is being done. And work is being done, and change is happening.
Hey, Elroy. So Golden Goth is in the chat. She's asking what you think about Africconers.
Afrikaners, okay. Okay, let me just say up front, there's no such thing as a genocide or an Afrikaner genocide in South Africa. Okay, Afrikaners.
Real quick, can you explain what an Afrikaner is?
Afrikaner is basically we have two kind of white people in South Africa. We have the more British kind of white people who, even if you hear them speaking English, that's how we're able to tell that by the guy's English. He is more in the British. He leans more British. So we have those kinds of white people, and then the second group of white people are the people who colonize, or basically because there was a standoff between the British and the Dutch over rulership of South Africa. So then the Dutch beat the British, and then the Dutch also won the right over South Africa. So then it was
the Boers, right? The Boers.
Yeah, those are the word Boer is basically an Afrikaans word for farmer, but it is applied more broadly, not only to farmer, but to all white people who are of Dutch descent, right? So then Afrikaners is the second kind of white people we have. It's more white people who are of Dutch descent. They've got their own culture, they've got their own traditions, they've got their own situation about them. So those are your Afrikaners. But like I said, there is no white people in South Africa still basically run the economy. They still own much of the land. They own like 70% of the land. So do you really think that these people will give up all of that to go and be refugees in America? They will never do that.
No, it's political theater. It's political theater, and it's virtue signaling Trump's base. I already knew that. I see, some of these white South Africans coming over here with the American flags, like we're refugees and the blacks in South Africa are so violent. It's all political theater bullshit. And it's Trump feeding into his base, virtue signaling his racist base to say, see, those black people in Africa, they're so violent and racist. It's political theater. Yeah.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nonsense, because what's happening is the ones that did go, or the ones that are maybe interested in still interested in going, are the ones who are poor. I'm not saying that all of them are rich, but what I'm saying is that the overwhelming majority of them are still relatively well off. So the ones that you saw coming to America are like the ones who are too poor. They are the ones that feel like because they are white, then they are supposed to still be advantaged in South Africa in some way. So those are not middle class people. Those are people who are poor. Those are the poor white people in South Africa. So yeah, most of the white people in South Africa are still rich. They would never leave South Africa just to go and be refugees in America. It's not going to happen.
Not good. Good point. I think it says like 59 of them. That's a very small number. That's like so insignificant. It's basically like a photo op. That's what I saw. Like it's like a media frenzy photo op. It's so insignificant. 59 what people? That's like a handful of families. Like all it is to virtue signal Trump's racist white nationalist base here in America, to amplify them, to be like, see, these blacks are so racist in South Africa, which, yeah, sure, there's a lot of racist blacks around the planet for sure. But I'm looking at these numbers and like even what you have basically stated, where it's like a lot of them own a lot of businesses and land and resources, etc. Where it's like, if it was really so bad for them, why are they fleeing? Like they're trying to paint this narrative that it's so bad over there for them. They gotta seek refugee status. But it's only 59 people. There's other nations like Somali. Like there's so
Yeah.
many damn Somalis, and that's East Africa, that come to America. And a lot of the racist whites in America, they're upset about that. They're upset when these racist whites, they see these black Somalis who come to America. They're like, get them out of here, right? Because they're really refugees. They have like real wars and just people in Somali. Like you have like terrorist groups like burning down villages and shit. Like that's real warfare there. But you have a lot of them who are refugee status who come to America. And there's way more Somalis from East Africa who come to America than these damn, 59 like white South Africans. So to me, it was all political theater, a stunt by the white nationalist controlled opposition underneath the Zionist current occupation. But go ahead, who wanted to speak?
Yeah,
Well, I was
yes.
going to say,
Well,
if the,
like I said, these people, even in places in South Africa where they do happen to be employed, they still out earn black people and colored people. I think they out earn black people like by 5 times. They earn 5 times as much as the average black person. So these people are not poor. And then I actually think that there's a very specific reason as to why Donald Trump wants them in America. I read somewhere that I think it's going to be 10 years from now, then white people in America are going to become a minority group. So he needs these white people specifically to boost their numbers in America. That is what I think.
But it's such an
well, that
insignificant
that's a
number.
very
It's
over.
only 59 of
Right.
them. It's so insignificant. I think even during Trump's last administration, the 2016 through 2020, he was trying to get people from like Denmark and other,
Yeah,
like I think Sweden, to come over here, and they laugh. These European whites laughed like, why the hell we come to your nation with overpriced healthcare when they have free healthcare, free education in their countries? A lot of them
exactly.
like declined to come to America because their economies are pretty solid. Like in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, they have good, stable economies. They're, to them, they didn't even look as a trade-off. I remember talking to a German man, Anglo man. He's around my age, so I use man, whatever. He's my age, right? He's a German man back in like 2016, and he was contemplating if he should stay in America, in California, and go to school. But he was like, well, wait a second. They have free education in Germany. They have a stable economy. So it's like he was deciding, should I get residency status in California, go to school, go to their, he wanted to go to UC Davis. So it's like I've talked to these people in real life, off the internet, real white Europeans who they come from countries with good economies, like this German man who was like, why the hell would they come to America? The trade-off doesn't seem like it's well fit. Like they can still do what they're doing in their home country, and versus in America, it might not be the best trade-off. I just want to throw that out there. But Al, go ahead. You want to add?
Well, yes, that's the kind of immigrants that Trump wants. He wants immigrants from Scandinavia and other European countries, but Europeans don't migrate to the United States anymore. They don't. The numbers are probably minor and small. They migrated in the 19th century because of historical factors and factors within the countries and nations they're from. You had Italian immigration. You had, I think, modest amount of Greek immigration. You had immigration from other nations. But the reality is that Europeans don't need to immigrate because Europeans, as you mentioned before, a lot of these European countries have, universal health care. They have a basic social welfare system.
Yeah, they have strong, stable economy.
Scandinavia, especially because there's oil in some of these countries. You got resources in Scandinavian countries.
Yeah,
and they spend the money on their They spend the money on their population. They don't spend. United States does not spend the money on its population.
Well, United States spends their money on foreign aid and Israeli aid, and they're giving their money to every other damn country.
And it's military.
United States is bringing
in.
It's
military.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's military too. That's where a lot of the money goes to, is the military. So, what's it? The problem. Like I said, if there are refugees from South Africa, they aren't Afrikaans. They would be colored. The colored could be refugees because they're discriminated against and because they are pretty much treated badly in South Africa. But that'll never happen.
Marginalized by Bantus and Anglos, and that's the issue. Is people don't want to address the elephant in the room. This is why we are here.
Right. But have you heard of mixed race people as a group in places like Brazil or South Africa? Have you heard them generally emigrate to, or be able to emigrate to other countries? I haven't. Maybe they have, but I haven't. So yeah, you could have some of these Africconers emigrate to the United States, but you'll never have any colored emigrate to the United States. Trump administration will never promote that and never allow that. See, so when it comes to it, so mixed race people are marginalized throughout the world.
Yeah,
marginalized throughout the world.
I want to add something here because it piggybacks off what Elroy Swartz said. Now, I like the fact Elroy Swartz is talking about how connection to the Koisan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, people, and how colored people, there's a tie connection there with those people, and that means this like land rights or inheritance to the land. It means that colored people are more African and South African specifically than any other population that plants their butts there on the land. So they literally have rights to the land and more than anybody else. And I think that's a key critical thing there we have to address, is that it's just improving the conditions for them in that land versus fleeing and running away. I think that's the main thing, is to improve the conditions there. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, color, like, well, there's a difference between a pure Koisan person and a colored person. But like I always say, that coloreds are the descendants that are closer to the Koisan people than anybody else. And in some cases, they must remember that they had their own indigenous languages that over time, much of it has gotten lost. It went lost. But there is like a revival movement among some colored people and among some of the Koisan people that are still left to kind of revive some of those languages. But in cases where they don't speak any of their indigenous languages, they speak Afrikaans like the colored people do. So, and like I said, you can go to the Northern Cape today, and in some cases, you can't even tell the difference between who's colored and who's Koisan. That is how the group has basically melted into becoming one. So yes, And then there is a movement among some colored people, which for me doesn't really make sense. A movement to completely do away with the term colored and only want to be Koisan, which for me doesn't make sense, because how are you going to be a mixed race person and yet deny the fact that you are mixed and claim to be only a pure Koisan person? So for me, I'm actually connected to both sides. I view myself as both Koisan as well as colored. I can't deny my mix, the fact that I'm mixed with so many other ethnicities, but at the same time, I can't deny my Koisan roots. I definitely have Koisan roots, but I'm also mixed. So the difference between the two, you have the pure Koisan people who are closely related to colored people, and then you have the colored people. And yes, I actually agree with you, MV. Colored people, through the Koisan people, have more right actually to the land than even the Bantu people. But that thing is very controversial in South Africa at the moment. You have Bantus all over the place trying to fight that, trying to deny that colored people are actually Koisan. And it's getting very ugly actually, because they want the land all to themselves.
So there's here in America, there's another reason for the obsession with the Koisan is that the Koisan, I don't know the specifics, but they have some amount of genes in them that are the oldest genes in, I should say alleles. It's not genes, it's alleles. They have some of the oldest alleles found in modern living humans today. Now,
yes,
a lot of people misinterpret that and they make the assumption, oh, so that means they were like the first humans. But that's not what it's saying. It's saying of the people that live today. It's not talking about dead people. Of the people that are living today, the Koisan have some of the oldest alleles in their genes. And
I agree with.
yeah, and so a lot of Americans, what they're doing is they're saying, they're pointing to the Koisan and they're wanting to claim them as black because of this, even though I've made videos about this as well. Even though, first of all, the black identity was created by like Europeans and Arabs and stuff like that. And even when those Europeans came to Southern Africa, they did not call the Koisan black because they saw that there was a difference between the Koisan and the Bantus. And so
Exactly.
yeah, and so because the Koisan are so very unique genetically, and even like as you're seeing on the screen, like just in appearance, phenotypically, they're so different. A lot of one droppers and pro blacks are wanting to claim them as black, and I think that can't happen.
What you must remember is that Black Americans are not connected to the Koisan people in any way. Black Americans are Bantus, basically, that came to America via West Africa through the slave trade. So Koisan people are found only in the southern region of South Africa. So, and Koisan people were not really taken to America as slaves. So there's no connection between Black America, who are mostly Bantu people, and Koisan people.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. And that's not going to stop them from trying to claim the Koisan,
Yeah. Well, they claim, the North American Bantu claims everybody is being part of their black family, right? I mean, they claim people from the Philippines, like they're saying the original Philippine people are black and original Japanese are black. So they're going to claim everyone around the globe as being,
Mulatto Vanguard, you should do a search for Andamanese people. They're another group of people. I can write in the chat. I'll write it in the chat. Andamanese people. You're gonna get a kick out of this. This is another group of people. They're not mixed, but they're another group of people that black people are trying to claim, because these people if you look at them, you're gonna think, oh, African. They're totally like Bantu African, but these people are not African. They're actually Asian. Like they're not like some African immigrants that took a ride over to Asia. No, they've been in Asia for thousands of years, but they have very dark skin. They have like 4C hair. They've got pretty much all the phenotypic traits that you see in Africa. Yeah, there you go. But these people are not, you know, let's say the colloquial conception of black. Now,
Yeah,
you can
the Negroid. Well,
yeah,
even like, sorry to cut you off. I wanted to add this as well, but even like the Aboriginal people, they don't have the same features as North American Bantus. Like, yeah, maybe the skin tone, but there's a lot of Indian people who are Southern Asian, you know, Indians who have super dark skin, but their phenotype, their facial bone structure, their hair texture, their features is not the same as Bantus.
yeah.
So,
And
but
the thing is, even though they have very similar phenotypes, the thing is, black people don't own, like, let's say, dark skin, because dark skin can be acquired by any group of people from many different genetic ways. So like the people here, they don't have dark skin because, oh, that's like their old African genes. No, their entire genotype is completely different from Africans. So they developed dark skin because they lived near the equator in a very like hot and humid arid environment. And it's the same, like you mentioned, like Filipinos. Like Filipinos have like wide noses and like big lips. Some of them do, not all of them. And black people will try to say, "Oh, yeah, that's the African genes." Like, no, it's like people all around the world can develop the same phenotypes in different ways, you know. And I'm starting to notice that a lot of this is a lot of like this black supremacy stuff happening,
right.
and they're just trying to claim as many people as they can and say, you know, you're all us, but we're still better than you, you know?
Exactly. That's the crazy part, is they want to claim everyone as being a part of their family. You're part of us. You come from us, but they still want to claim that they're better than you. You hit the nail on the head. It's so disgusting how they try to push that black supremacy, and they're not used to anyone calling them out on it, because Anglos have coddled them. I can say here in North America, United States, the whites, the Anglos, they have coddled them to where they've allowed them to push the pseudo-scientific, pseudo-historical rhetoric, this black supremacist rhetoric, to try to one-drop the entire damn planet to being part of their family. But then at the same time, like, they'll try to claim someone like the Pope, you know, who's got Creole heritage, who's got like 2% African in him. They'll claim him as being black, but they'll tell a guy like Drake, the Canadian mulatto rapper, they'll tell him, well, he's not black because he's got a white mom from Canada. And this is the type of BS they're pushing now. They'll claim someone with 2% black, but someone with 50% black, they'll say, well, you're not really black. You cannot take them seriously. That's why we need the mulatto media to provide clarity for the people.
Yeah,
guys,
so,
it's super late.
Well,
Matt, go ahead. I know you guys are in different time zones. We got the Al and show in Hawaii. We got the gentleman here, Elroy, in South Africa. Different time zones here, but you guys can go ahead, provide your kind of thoughts. But I am going to close out pretty soon. But go ahead, guys. You got the floor.
Go ahead, Al.
Well, what I was going to say was this. What you have to understand when it comes to the United States, from what I've observed, is that African Americans have this, the whole idea of black is largely an African American concept and construct. The idea of blackness that people use, right? And so what's happened is that's been exported overseas. That's been exported in the UK. That's been exported, I think, even in South Africa. It's this idea of the term black being used to denote African people. And so when you have these problems between African Americans and Africans who come to America, there are issues because Africans who come to America identify through their ethnicity and their tribal group and their nationality. That's how Africans function. But Americans, African Americans, really see themselves as black. So when you look at the term black, it's a pejorative term. I mean, the term itself isn't, the definitions are essentially pejorative. They're negative. They're the opposite of the mainstream. Blacklist, blackballed, black mass, black market. None of them imply the mainstream, the acceptable. They're all on the marginal, right? So psychologically, African Americans choose to use, a number of them choose to use the term black, which is psychologically, when you think about it, negative. It's not positive, but that's the term. So they want to take a positive and try to make a negative and try to make it positive, but you can't. You can't redefine the term black. So when you try to apply it to other countries around the world and other people around the world, it doesn't ring true. Because in the United States, because of the history of people of the African diaspora, black is seen as a unifying aspect, right? It's something that people have in common, which is discrimination based on skin color and their African heritage. How much that, whatever amount that is, or whatever degree that is. But the problem is, that doesn't really work overseas, right? It doesn't really work in other countries. I mean, I think it's being influenced in places like South Africa slightly, and in Brazil and some other countries. But the term black, and it's also a separation, right? So when you have all this problem, this issue with the ADOS people and the FBAs, they're promoting basically a black version, and I've written this in an article somewhere, a black version of the Know Nothing Society of the 19th century, the Order of the Star Spangled Banner. It's just a black version of this. It's this we built America. We're the ones that are it's this identifying with the United States. And the problem is, yes, they're Americans, but they are divorced from being Africans. And so when Africans come to the U.S.,
right,
they look at these people and go, yeah, you make fun of us, you disrespect us. And there's some of that going back, on their side.
well,
Africans, they disrespect black people too. But
they're talking about, like, delineation is the term they're using. They want to delineate themselves from, like, the native Africans or continental Africans, right, on the continent. It's very sad to see them do that, but yet they don't want to delineate themselves from mixed people or even colored people, like Atila, or the biracial guy from South Africa, Trevor Noah, or Barack Obama, who has an African father, white American mother. Like, they don't want to delineate themselves from mixed people because they still want adjacency to kind of whiteness or non-blackness, we can say. But when it comes to the black people, like in Africa, like Nigerian or etc., like, they're trying to delineate themselves. That level of self-hatred is very, very bizarre. And I don't like the fact how they try to project that and spread that onto us as if that's our problem. We've never been in denial or ashamed of our African heritage, especially me, yours truly, the guy, my channel here. Like, I was in Ghana, West Africa in 2019. I've never shied away from my African heritage. I'm very proud of my roots, but I'm just not the same as them. I'm not the same as your quintessential Black American or a Black African. I'm not the same. I'm a different breed. I'm a different person. I've embraced that. I've come to that reality, that consciousness and awakening, and I'm moving forward with that. And it's working great for me. I just wanted to add that there. Do you guys have some final thoughts? Because I do kind of want to close this out now, guys. I apologize. We could do this again, pretty soon. But I think this has been a very good discussion. I really appreciate Elroy Swartz for sure hopping on, El Mulaton, the Owl Show. Always, you guys have been gracious, great guests and panelists. I appreciate all of you gentlemen being up here this evening. This has been very great. But if you guys want to add your final thoughts, I'll go around in a circle, then we can kind of close this out. So I guess I can start with El Mulaton, but I believe because you kind of started on the panel, if you want to go ahead and provide your final thoughts, please.
Yeah. So final thoughts. I actually wanted to go back to an issue we were talking about earlier about us having an unfair advantage. And one of the things I said is that we assimilate better. And I'll tell you a quick story from history. And it's that whenever the first mulattoes were around in like New Spain, that's what it was called. It's like modern day Mexico and Guatemala, but back then it was called New Spain. And they had obviously all the different groups separated. And there was a group called pardos. Now, pardos in Spanish were different than the pardus in Brazil. In Spanish, pardos were like they were usually part African and part indigenous. That wasn't like static throughout the whole time, but that was most of the time. That's what it was. And a lot of the mulattos and the pardos, they were able to kind of like integrate into like Spanish society. And the Black people did not like that. Even back then, even in the beginning, they did not like that. And there was so much conflict between the Africans and a lot of the mixed community that the mulattos and the pardos actually started teaming up together. They started like I don't know to what extent, but they started just being together, kind of working against everybody else. And then it eventually came to a point where there was just no distinction really between pardos, and they just all kind of became mulattos. And so it's like this isn't something that's particularly new to us, about us getting a lot of flack because we're mixed. This is something that's been going on since the beginning of history. But yeah, other than that, I think last words, great stream. I love doing the stream with everybody. I hope to do it again sometime real soon.
I'm really happy to have you on. Thank you so much for joining the panel.
Yep.
Cool. Talk to you next time. The Owl Show, you're up next. If you want to provide your final thoughts, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes. I guess what I wanted to say is I'm always interested in the situations with mixed race people in other countries. South Africa is a very good example of that. Brazil, others. And I think what people don't really understand about being mixed race in other countries compared to the United States is that what occurred for at least the Black, white, biracials and mulatto people is their status basically was invalidated and evaporated in the 20th century. That wasn't the case in South Africa, and that wasn't the case in Brazil. It was necessary to divide and keep mixed race people a separate class and separate people because they are different. They are separate. And I did want to kind of get into what Elroy had mentioned about the need for mixed race people to visit South Africa and interact with the colored and mixed race there. I think that's a valid point. I think that's interesting. I don't personally know how I could do that. The only thing I could say is I'd be willing to go on South African podcasts or South African radio shows or South African TV shows if possible. Since I get interviewed on podcasts every year, or shows every year. In that sense, I'd be open to that. I haven't really done international media too much. But I think that's not a bad idea. I think Elroy has a point. There are, you do see people like, who was that guy, Dr. Umar Johnson, go to African countries and some of these Afrocentric and Pan-African individuals try to meet up and deal with that, deal with people there. I think it would be good for some mixed race people to do that and meet with other mixed race people.
Oh, definitely.
I think that would be a good idea. The only thing I can suggest for myself is I'd be willing to be interviewed on some shows. I think that's the best that I can do at this point. That's the best that I can do.
I mean, everything you're doing is helping, Al. Everything you're doing is helping. Just your presence is helpful. Like I said, you've been involved in these discussions, these multiracial discussions, way longer than me. Like, so everything you're doing is very helpful. You're providing information. Yeah,
that's good to hear.
I would love, like I said, even for me, like, well, even for you, like what I've been saying is I'd like to see you post more, not only video content, but articles on the current affairs, even your thoughts on what's going on in South Africa with colored people and biracial Americans. You could easily post an article. I don't know if you don't want it to kind of tarnish your brand per se, because you kind of do more of different type of media articles, etc. But
yeah, at this point,
you have a skill set for writing,
right?
And I think
let me just respond to that, if I might. As I mentioned before, I keep my work separate from who I am as a person. Like the fact that I'm mixed race and biracial has never factored into the fact I'm a writer or was a journalist or any of that, because I don't work in racial areas. I don't write about race. I don't deal with race. Like there's some biracial people who do that, but they're more black identified. Like I can't remember her name. The one who writes about, there's a journalist who writes about Nicole something or other. She's written about school desegregation and all that. And she basically sees herself as a black person. But I don't write about race, and I don't deal with race or ethnic issues. And it's because I've never dealt with that. My career is very different. And what I do now in terms of writing now, even though I'm retired from journalism, is all about film, and that keeps me busy.
I respect
it. Just keeps me busy. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it. I just can't nowadays. I mean, it would.
I respect that. I
mean, no, I understand. I think that's perfectly valid. But I would say the way things have been the last year or more, with all these projects that I'm doing and getting into podcasting, I'd say there's no way. There's no way I could do it.
What I can say is keep doing what you're doing, because I like your work. I'm subscribed to your Substack as well, and your YouTube, obviously.
And I know you're on Substack as well. I know you're writing articles, so I think that's important that you're putting content out on a place like Substack. I think that's good. I'd encourage you to do more of that if you have the time, and I think that's great. But like I said, I'll extend an offer. I don't know media in South Africa, but I'd be willing to go on South African shows in South Africa and do media in South Africa discussing aspects of mixed race people. I'd be willing to do that. But that's the extent of what I'd be able to do. But again, I don't know media in South Africa. I don't really know. And I'm not famous. I'm not Trevor Noah or some of these other people. So I'm not a well-known personality. I've been on a lot of shows, but I'm not famous.
You're well known in the American mulatto spaces, so that means something.
Okay. I guess that works.
It's growing, so
that works for me. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So, like I said, I extend that opportunity. I don't know South African media that much, but I'd be willing to talk about that if it's possible. I'd be open to doing that.
The opportunity is there. There's endless opportunities in what we're doing with this tool with social media. So I know the opportunity will eventually present itself if you're patient enough, and you will see for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, though, Al.
I'll just say one more thing before I go.
Sure.
I'm also willing to go on shows in this country, in the U.S., that if there's biracial podcast or mixed race podcast, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that, but I don't really know. See, the podcast I go on have nothing to do with race or ethnicity, so I know absolutely nothing about biracial podcasts. So I'm in the dark about that. I know there are some, but
a lot of the ones you find, okay, let's be real, they're biracial podcasts. They're on TikTok, like say a biracial lounge or something like that. They're black identified. They're ran by people who see themselves as just black. So they use the whole biracial thing as a gimmick, you know, because it's a controversial topic, but their audience is going to be composed of mainly black. They're black identified. So that's kind of what you fall into. If you want something that's mulatto specific, it's going to kind of be hard to find. I mean, these channels are starting out, they're developing, but they're going to have to build themselves up, and we're only going to grow. But as far as it is right now, most of the discussion that you see that's centered around multiraciality or biraciality, etc., it's intertwined into queerness. You're going to find that a lot of the mixed race discussion in the United States, they're basically intertwined with the LGBT stuff. That's a whole nother separate discussion we're obviously going to get into in the future. But right now,
I hadn't heard that, but interesting.
I want to stay on track right now. But thank you, Al, for hopping on the channel.
Thank you. I got to go. Bye.
Peace out. And Elroy Swartz, if you can please, the floor is yours. Take as much time as you want. I am honored to have you as a guest here. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, man. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you are here, giving us a platform and being a voice for us as colored people in South Africa. I really do appreciate that. And I also appreciate what you said a few minutes ago about the Koisan and colored people actually being having more right to the land than we are actually acknowledged for at the moment in South Africa. Because what is happening is that which this is basically part of the whole thing that played itself out in America with President Ramaphosa and Donald Trump and the Afrikaners who were there. The term land came up a lot. It came up a lot because what is happening is that much of the land is still in the hands of the Afrikaners, who are actually Dutch descendants. So that is where we are at the moment in South Africa. We are at the place where the land is still in the hands of the white people. And here we have the black majority trying to get back some of that land, right? So now what colored people are doing, and I suppose that is why a lot of colored people want to completely do away with our colored identity, which I have a huge problem with because it is an identity that we have and a culture that we have managed to build over centuries, starting from 1652, right? So now they want to do away with that and claim to be only Koisan, I suppose, in some kind of an attempt to have a piece of the pie as it relates to the land, right? So that is what it is about, actually. So for me, I don't want us to do away with our colored identity. We do have Koisan roots, but yes, we do have more rights to the land than actual Bantus have because we are descendants of the original owners of the land. But at the same time, I don't think that we should do away with our colored identity necessarily. We shouldn't. So I understand why people want to do away with that because they remember now we've been cheated out of our rights. We've been treated as second class citizens for the last 30 years. So now the people are reasoning that if the last 30 years has been like this, and these people, the Bantus, are about to get the land, which means they're not going to share the land with us, and we are closer connected to the original owners of the land. So for me, that's an act of desperation, actually. So yeah. And then secondly, I just want to also mention and actually agree with What else said about the term black? The term black, Africans historically never viewed themselves as black. They always identified by their tribal identities. The term black, it is pejorative. It's actually something that was introduced by the colonizers as a kind of a umbrella term to broad brush all black people or all people who are darker skinned in Africa, to put them under this umbrella term, and also to take away their tribal identities and to dehumanize them in the process. So that is where the term black came from. I understand that Black Americans have managed to turn it into some kind of a positive, and also because their identities were taken away from them as Black Americans, as slavery descendants, right? So then they latch onto this term and today use that as a tribal identifier. But historically, Africans never viewed themselves as black. They identified by their tribal names. Okay, so yeah, that is where the term black came from. It came from the colonizers, which I tell a lot of people, because many times when people want to be against a colored term, they will say that, well, this came from the colonizers. And then I tell them, well, the term, so is the term black. It also came from the colonizers. Africans never identified as black. So why are you contradicting, or why are you being a hypocrite? In fact, even the term Africa or African, it didn't come from black people. It didn't come from Africans. It came from the Romans. So we have all these names, and here you are against the color term because that one also came from the colonizers. So you should also then be against the term black, and then you should also be against the term African because that also came from colonizers. Okay, so yeah. And then lastly, I just want to say that, I Bantus in South Africa never were enslaved. The only Bantus that were enslaved went into slavery through West Africa. What happened in South Africa is that the Bantus, when the colonizers want to enslave them as well, they actually resisted it. So that made it necessary for the colonizers to then import slaves, which then form part of our ancestry as colored people. Then they imported slaves from Malaysia, Indonesia, etc., etc., etc. So that is what happened there. So colored people in South Africa were the only people who were enslaved. South African Bantus were never enslaved. They don't know what slavery is. So to their credit, I would actually credit them for the fact that they resisted slavery. Yes, there were some few Koisan people who were also enslaved, but South African Bantus were never enslaved. And then lastly, I just want to say that, I don't mean to, I know that your channel is, mulatto issues, focusing on the struggle of mulatto people in the United States. I understand that. So when I come on the panel or when I come on the show, on the comments, it's not like I'm intending to hijack what the channel is about. I just want to, from the colored perspective, I represent my people every time I come on this channel, and I speak as a voice for my people, and I try as much as possible to see if there are, similarities between our struggle and yours, and to try to draw some parallels, and maybe there are some lessons that both of the two groups, the colored group as well as the mulattoes, and maybe even the Creoles in America, can learn from the parallels and from the similarity in our struggle. So that is my intention when I come on the panel or when I come in the comments and when I participate. It is not to make this thing all of a sudden only about colored people. It is about to bring our perspective from the colored side, and to be a voice for my people, who I am very passionate about, and to represent my. So for me, I hope it isn't perceived that I'm trying to hijack the mulatto conversation. For me, that's not what it's about. So I want to thank you again for being a voice for us and for providing us the platform. Thank you very much, too.
Oh no, thank you for gracing us with your presence. This is I'm very honored to have you here. This is what I've envisioned for myself, and like my platform, my channel was to connect with you and people around the world. So your presence is everything. I just very thankful that you spent the time to come over here and to express yourself and the issues that you see and how you are communicating that to us. You're helping educate us, because a lot of us, we are out of the loop. We don't know what's really going on. We don't have really accurate media sources to see what is going on. So when we have someone like you who provides real life testimony, what's going on, like, you are a credible source for us as we see it. So you're doing us such a service here, and we really thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot. And thanks again. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay. You too.
Yeah, and definitely that's what this platform is about. Obviously, we center mulatto people, but that doesn't mean that we can't cover other groups, other multiracial people, allies, etc., around the planet. And basically, like the gentleman said, of how there's an overlap and how there's intersections, if I can use that term very vaguely, because we know intersection has kind of been hijacked by the LGBT group. But what I'll say is that there are some connecting, elements that are involved as far as politically and culturally, and our plight for autonomy and independence between different groups who are multiracial, because mulattoes, we are mixed race people, right? As the colored people are multiracial people as well. So El Mulaton puts here, it is a mulatto channel. But I think it's beneficial for us to learn about coloreds and other mixed race communities. Exactly. And that's why I dedicate my channel. I talk about the colored people in South Africa. I have a gentleman here who's a good source who helps us, learn more about them and their plight. I mean, I completely welcome this. So I don't want that man to feel like his presence is kind of, derailing the conversation. Not at all. Like, I'm the host here and I'm welcoming him. This is, I want him to utilize this channel, this platform, so that to spread awareness, because we don't know. I don't even know. Like, I'm here, I'm learning from him. I want to learn more about colored people. I've never been to South Africa yet. I want to go eventually and meet people, connect with people. But this is a whole learning process for all of us, so we can all be more informed and we can see the similarities and the strategies and the erasure and the denial of autonomy, what's going on with them, the colored community, the marginalization. How is that similar to what's going on with us in the United States, right? As far as the marginalization, the denial of identity, etc. There's a lot of overlap, and it would be in our best interest to explore that. So yeah, shout out to you for your comment. And yeah, guys, I've been out 3 hours. I'm over here. It's 3 hours now. We're at the 3 hour mark. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Guys, please hit the like button, share the stream if you like it. We're only getting the party started. We're going to continue rolling this thing along through, and I'll see you guys pretty soon. All right. Stay in touch, keep in touch, stay motivated, stay positive, and stay mulatto. All right. I'll talk to you guys next time. Sayonara.